Chapter 29. However, when he came here he rode on a flood dragon horse, which could travel thousands of miles in a day. But now, Xiao Han was riding on a common horse, which could only travel a few hundred miles. The two could not be mentioned in the same breath. It's a pity that those flood dragon horses were torn into pieces by a loose demon. Xiao Han also felt that it was a pity. After running for several hours, Xiao Han arrived at a small town. Crouching Bull Town. He entered and rested for a while. This small town was larger than Willow Town. It was densely populated and prosperous. Xiao Han led his horse along the streets of the town. Along the way, many of the locals looked at him with respect when they saw him wearing the sect's disciple robes. Xiao Han took a stroll around Crouching Bull Town. The strange thing that was hibernating in his heart behaved itself and did not show any signs of abnormality. It seems that this town is not ravaged by the demon clan. It is a peaceful place. Xiao Han nodded to himself. When he passed by a wooden pavilion named Golden Phoenix Pavilion, he saw a few gorgeously dressed young girls waving fragrant handkerchiefs on the balcony of the second floor. They were throwing flirtatious glances at the people downstairs and stroking their hair coquettishly. The two brothels downstairs were busy as well. "Sir, come in and have a cup of wine. Come on. Ladies upstairs, come out and receive the guests." "Ha! Is this the legendary brothel?" Xiao Han was very interested. "Milord, come in and play." Tiske. This servant sees that Milord is a talented and promising young man. The ladies must love Milord to death. A brothel keeper came to drag Xiao Han. Xiao Han quickly dodged. "Yeah. Sect disciples. So handsome." A burst of silver bell-like cheers came from upstairs. Then he sighed in disappointment. Why isn't he coming up?" Not long after, Xiao Han led the horse to the largest restaurant in town. The Canvas Lunar Restaurant. As soon as he arrived at the entrance, the waiter rushed out and greeted Xiao Han humbly. "Young hero, would you like to have a drink or a meal?" "Let's eat," Xiao Han said with a smile. Please come in, please come in." The waiter took the reins from Xiao Han's hands. "Young hero, feel free to go in and have your meal. This lowly one will bring this horse to the stable for you. It will be served with the best fodder. I guarantee that it will be perfect." "All right." Xiao Han handed the horse over to the waiter. He strode into the restaurant with his head held high. Xiao Han thought. As expected, when sect disciples come to the mortal world, they are respected everywhere. When I was a live target in the past, I never thought I would have such a day. After entering the restaurant, Xiao Han went straight to the second floor. He climbed up the wooden stairs and reached the second floor. With a glance, he saw that among the diners on the second floor, there were a few tables filled with Jianghu guests. Their cultivation levels were not high either. All of them were at the fleshly body realm. Some of them placed their weapons directly on the tables and stools, drinking from large bowls and eating large mouthfuls of meat. These Jianghu people were not like Xiao Han, who was wearing the sect's uniform. Their faces were covered with the marks of the wilderness. He seemed to be a rogue cultivator or someone from a small sect. As soon as Xiao Han went upstairs, more than 10 pairs of eyes swept over him. However, the gazes that were sizing up Xiao Han soon moved away. Xiao Han did not feel offended. Instead, he felt a sense of unrestrained heroism as he roamed the pugilistic world. Xiao Han found a seat by the window and sat down. That's strange. After I entered this Crouching Bull town, I saw a few groups of Jianghu people in the town. All of them seemed to be in a hurry. I didn't expect this restaurant to be filled with Jianghu people. Could there be something strange about this Crouching Bull town? Xiao Han thought to himself. At that moment, Xiao Han could vaguely hear the Jianghu people talking in low voices. It's the outer sect disciple of Cloud Rain sect. That's right. Don't look at that young man for too long, or you'll make him unhappy. Disciples from big sects are all arrogant and despotic. They'll attack if they get angry. However, the disciples of Cloud Rain sect want to join in the fun too? This is getting more and more interesting. There really is something. Xiao Han pricked up his ears to listen to the discussion of the Jianghu people excitedly. Those Jianghu people did not avoid it. In fact, it felt like they were saying it intentionally for Xiao Han to hear. Very soon, Xiao Han found out about one thing. The mountain behind Crouching Bull Town was called Crouching Bull Mountain. The mountain was tall and the forest was dense. At the foot of the mountain there was a deep pool. It was unknown when a ferocious beast had appeared near the deep pool. It dug the ground as its den and hid beside the pool. It did not leave for decades. The natives in the town were very curious about this matter, but they did not dare to provoke this ferocious beast. Moreover, this ferocious beast did not enter the town to cause trouble. It was peaceful with the natives in the town. A few days ago, a Jianghu person passed by Crouching Bull Town and learned about this matter. He was very curious and went to the deep pool at the foot of Crouching Bull Mountain to investigate. After this investigation, the Jianghu person understood the whole story of this strange matter. It turned out that there was a heaven and earth treasure growing beside the deep pool. Nine-tailed sunflower grass. That ferocious beast was attracted by the spiritual energy of the nine-tailed sunflower grass decades ago. Therefore, it dug a hole beside the deep pool to guard it. Usually, places with spirit herbs in the foothills and forests would be guarded by ferocious beasts. When the spirit herb matured, the ferocious beast would devour it to nourish and strengthen itself. The nine-tailed sunflower grass at the foot of Crouching Bull Mountain was already 100 years old. The Jianghu person knew that he could not defeat the ferocious beast guarding the spirit herb, so he spread the news. Soon, many Jianghu people came over to observe. A few Jianghu people who were knowledgeable about spirit herbs and medicine had calculated that the nine-tailed sunflower grass would completely mature during the full moon that night. It would brew the strongest medicinal effect. Picking and eating it at this moment would be the most beneficial. Therefore, many Jianghu people had already rushed into Crouching Bull Town today. They wanted to take action during the full moon to snatch the food from the ferocious beast and the mature nine-tailed sunflower grass. What was the nine-tailed sunflower grass? It was rare to say that it was rare. It was not rare to say that it was not rare either. To a martial artist in the true energy realm, this thing was nothing. Even to a martial artist in the blood transformation and marrow refining realms, the nine-tailed sunflower grass was nothing. However, to a martial artist in the viscera refinement realm, it was a treasure among treasures. A fully mature nine-tailed sunflower grass that was 100 years old was a supreme-grade viscera refinement spirit herb. It could allow a martial artist in the viscera refinement realm to directly climb to the peak of the viscera refinement realm. Moreover, the effect of the viscera refinement realm was stronger than the viscera refinement pills of many major sects. Damn it! A treasure spirit herb for viscera refinement. Xiaohan was completely tempted. A few days ago, Xiaohan had consumed a dark essence viscera cleansing pill. The effect of the pill lasted for 7 days. It could ensure that Xiaohan could advance from the entry stage of viscera refinement to the initial success stage. These few days, Xiaohan had been secretly cultivating his mystic art. He breathed in and out to refine the dark essence viscera cleansing pill. He needed another 3 to 4 days to completely refine it and reach the initial success stage of viscera refinement. However, Xiaohan was not satisfied with the initial success stage of viscera refinement. Now that he heard that there was a treasure that could raise his viscera refinement cultivation base to the peak, Xiaohan was tempted. He could not wait to get his hands on the nine-tailed sunflower grass and swallow it. I must get this nine-tailed sunflower grass. No one can snatch it from me. I must get it. When I was in the bone refinement realm, my foundation was extremely solid. Once I advance to the peak of the viscera refinement realm, my strength will skyrocket. If I miss this opportunity, I won't be able to forgive myself. The path of martial arts is filled with hardships and fortuitous encounters. No matter how hardworking a martial artist is, if he does not have a fortuitous encounter, he is destined to be a mediocre person. Now that a fortuitous encounter is upon me, I can only blame myself for being weak and useless. Xiaohan's eyes were red. The people of the pugilistic world were still talking. I heard that a few groups of ferocious people are already waiting at the foot of Crouching Bull Mountain. They are starting to clear the area. Martial artists of our level will be chased away the moment we go over. If we resist, we will be attacked. I will not go and watch the show. Some of the people of the pugilistic world looked at Xiaohan with a gaze that wished for the world to be in chaos. If a disciple from a big sect goes over, they will have to give some face. Xiaohan understood. These people of the pugilistic world did not have the ability to get their hands on the spirit herb. They would love for the situation to be as chaotic as possible. It would be best if there was a large-scale battle where a bunch of people died. That was why they deliberately leaked the news to Xiaohan. However, this was not important to Xiaohan. He had to get the nine-tailed sunflower grass. After I fill my stomach, I will immediately go to Crouching Bull Mountain and wait for it. I will snatch it when the moon is full. Xiaohan quickly called the waiter over and ordered a table of delicacies. Eat your fill so that you will have the strength to fight and snatch the treasure at night. Not long after the dishes were served, Xiaohan grabbed a pork knuckle and started to eat. At this moment, a sharp aura rose from the wooden stairs. Shortly after, a tall and imposing man came up the stairs with a saber on his back. The saber aura around him was domineering. His eyes were filled with conceit and pride. Huarong. It was actually Huarong. Xiao Han's action of eating the pork knuckle froze. His eyes stared straight at Huarong. The murderous intent in his heart was out of control. Son of AB***, we are really enemies on a narrow road. Damn it. Huarong also noticed Xiao Han at the first moment. He saw a huge doubt in Huarong's eyes. He must be thinking, why is this kid not dead yet? Soon, a murderous intent flashed across Huarong's eyes. However, Huarong hid this murderous intent deeply. He laughed out loud. Ha ha ha. Junior brother Xiao Han. I can't believe I met you in this small town. It has been so hard for me to find you. Ah. Xiao Han also hid his murderous intent. He put down the pork knuckle in his hand, wiped his greasy hands on his clothes and said with a face full of joy. Senior brother Huarong. Come, sit. Both of them had their own ulterior motives. They looked at each other and laughed. Huarong walked with big strides to Xiao Han's table. Senior brother, please sit, Xiao Han shouted with a smile. Waiter, serve the wine. Huarong sat down on his butt. Junior brother Xiao Han, don't be so polite. You and I are from the same sect. Our friendship is deep and we don't care about the customs. That's right, Xiao Han nodded his head like a chicken pecking at rice. But in his heart he thought coldly. Friendship between the same sect? When you pushed me out, why didn't you think about the friendship between the same sect? Forget it, if I don't kill you today my name is not Xiao Han. After refining the demon god's palm, Xiao Han also had some foundation. He even dared to plot against a half-step true chi expert. Soon the two of them exchanged cups and drank with each other. They were so intimate that they were like long-lost brothers. The people of the Jianghu at the side were speechless. Look, the relationship between the disciples of the big sects is so harmonious and loving. This martial artist with a single blade is very strong. It seems that the nine-tailed sunflower grass will belong to this young man. After 3 rounds of wine, Huarong said with a smile. Junior brother Xiao Han, I heard that a supreme-grade organs refinement spirit herb appeared in Crouching Bull Town, the nine-tailed sunflower grass. Junior brother, are you refining your organs? With this spirit herb, your organs refinement realm will be perfected. When you return to the sect, you can directly refine your marrow. Yes, junior brother, don't worry. Since I'm here, I will definitely help you get the spirit herb. Let's go, junior brother. Let's find a place to discuss how to get the spirit herb from the hands of the heroes. As he spoke, the muscles at the corner of Huarong's eyes kept twitching. It was obvious that his heart was filled with killing intent and was about to explode. Xiao Han also stood up and used his hand to wipe the oil stains at the corner of his mouth. His eyes were extremely innocent. That's great. With senior brother helping us, do we have to worry about not being able to get the spirit herb? Thank you, senior brother. Thank you, senior brother. Let's go, junior brother. Let's find a place with no one and take our time to discuss. Huarong also stood up. P.S. Late night update seeking recommendation votes. Chapter 30. This Crouching Bull Town was surrounded by mountains on all sides and was a beautiful place. Huarong said as he led Xiao Han out of the town. Junior brother Xiao Han, please follow me. At this moment, there was no smile on Huarong's face. His eyes turned cold and his killing intent was no longer concealed. From his tone, it was as if he was in control of Xiao Han's life and death and would not allow him to disobey. The domineering saber force enveloped Xiao Han, causing him to feel pain. If Xiao Han did not obediently follow Huarong out of the town, he would immediately be killed by Huarong's saber force. However, looks like this bastard is going to make his move. Very good. If he does not come to kill me, I will kill him. However, he is a half-step true chi expert and a genius. His physical strength must be more than 100 cauldrons and his saber skills are godly. I am definitely not his match in a head-on confrontation. I must think of a foolproof plan. With the demon god's palm, it is not impossible for me to kill him. Xiao Han's heart was also filled with killing intent. Before long, Huarong brought Xiao Han to the foot of a small mountain outside the town that was rarely visited by people. Birds were singing, flowers were fragrant, and water was gurgling. It was a beautiful place with beautiful scenery. Alright, junior brother Xiao Han, we are here. Huarong stood in front of Xiao Han with his hands behind his back. He did not draw his saber and only looked at Xiao Han with cold eyes. In his eyes, saber chi was brewing as if he could strike at any moment. However, the saber force was ethereal and unpredictable, making it impossible to catch the slightest trace. This was Xiao Han's first time facing a half-step true chi expert as an opponent. Such a strong pressure. This pressure is not something that Wu Yen, Ling Husong, Yang Lei or even Ling Feiyu can compare with. Xiao Han's mind was completely tensed up. His left hand trembled slightly. There was nervousness and suffocation in his heart, but there was also some excitement. The potential in his body was being stimulated bit by bit. Xiao Han knew that the current situation was what martial artists often talked about, lingering on the edge of life and death. After experiencing this kind of battle, being able to survive and even win against a stronger opponent would have a huge effect on the training of one's mind. One's entire body would undergo a drastic transformation. This was no small matter. Xiao Han slowly adjusted his breathing. All kinds of countermeasures were brewing in his mind like a spark. However, on the surface, Xiao Han still maintained a naive and innocent look as he said with a smile. "Senior brother Huarong, it's great to meet you in Crouching Bull Town. I'm determined to get that nine-tailed sunflower herb. But there are too many people fighting for it, so I need senior brother Huarong's help." A trace of mockery and ridicule flashed past Huarong's eyes. He waved his hand, signaling Xiao Han not to speak. "Junior brother Xiao Han, let me ask you something. That demonic general summoned the demonic emperor's palm, and his life and death are in danger. I risked my life and luckily escaped. Junior brother Xiao Han, how did you escape?" After saying that, Huarong flipped his left hand, and the demon-revealing mirror appeared in his hand. He waved it at Xiao Han, and the surface of the mirror was as calm as an ancient well. "Senior martial brother Huarong, I am not a demon," Xiao Han hurriedly said. "This little brother doesn't know what happened either. That demon general wanted to consecrate the demon Thearka's palm. When it took out the demon Thearka's palm, beams of demonic light shot out. One of them shot into this little brother's body. This little brother's eyes turned black as he fainted. When this little brother faintly woke up, that demon general and the other outer sect disciples were nowhere to be seen. This little brother was scared to death. I quickly left Willow Town." Xiao Han tried his best to disguise the palpitations of surviving a disaster, but his eyes were full of fear. "Is that so?" Huarong pondered for a moment, and his eyes slightly narrowed as he said softly. "Junior martial brother Xiao Han, when we return to the sect this time, you will definitely complain to the higher-ups about this brother's wrongdoings. You will tell them that I betrayed my fellow disciples, used you as a shield and escaped by myself, right?" After saying that, Huarong opened his eyes. In an instant, a murderous aura filled the air, and the muscles at the corner of his eyes kept twitching. "Wah! Senior martial brother Huarong, what do you want to do?" Xiao Han's face turned pale as he stepped back step by step. I won't say anything. I swear I will definitely keep my mouth shut. This matter will rot in my stomach. All right, Xiao Han. Don't expect me to let you go. You must die. I believe in a principle. In this world, only one kind of person can keep a secret forever, and that is the dead." Huarong flicked his fingernails. "Xiao Han, the scenery here is not bad. You should be able to smile in the underworld even if you are buried here. Don't worry, I have always acted quickly. I won't let you feel the pain before death. This is also my favor to you." "No. Senior martial brother Huarong, you can't kill me." Xiao Han almost cried. The next moment, boom. Huarong's right hand slashed in the air, and a knife hand slashed out. The power of the knife was swift and fierce. The sound of wind and thunder surged together, rolling and boiling, and thousands of horses galloped towards Xiao Han. Wherever the knife light passed, the grass bent, and the sand and stones were thrown into disorder. Pooh! This knife light hit Xiao Han's chest, and Xiao Han was pushed back more than 10 steps, and then fiercely smashed onto the ground. Xiao Han spat out a mouthful of blood and lay on the ground motionlessly. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. For a martial artist like Xiao Han who had just started refining his organs, Huarong could easily kill him with just a thought. He didn't even need to draw his knife. And at this moment, Xiao Han, pain? This daddy is going to die. Xiao Han gritted his teeth in pain and cursed in his heart. However, he didn't die. In fact, the knife chi that burst out from Huarong's knife hand was only about 10 cauldrons of strength. Huarong didn't cultivate true chi, so the knife chi that came out from the air was only a fraction of the strength of his physical body. If he drew his knife and slashed out knife chi, it would have the strength of dozens of cauldrons. However, the knife chi that came out from his knife hand was only 10 cauldrons of strength. But what was amazing was that this 10 cauldrons of strength, when blasted out in the form of knife chi, was strangely fast and incomparably sharp. It could cut through giant trees, cut through flowing water, and tear apart flesh. Xiao Han's clothes had already been cut open by this knife strike. The sharp knife Qi originally wanted to break through Xiao Han's muscles and flesh with irresistible force, and cut open his stomach. However, Xiao Han's bone refinement was better than most martial artists. His physical body was tyrannical, and with the indestructible golden body circulating in his body, Huarong's knife hand only left an inch deep wound on the surface of Xiao Han's skin. However, when the knife Qi entered Xiao Han's body and cut his meridians and internal organs, Xiao Han was in so much pain that he wanted to die. Fortunately, the indestructible golden body produced a warm current that wrapped around the knife Qi that entered his body and quickly nourished Xiao Han. This knife Qi that entered my body was dissolved by the indestructible golden body. The indestructible golden body absorbed a portion of the knife Qi that entered my body and instead produced a warm current that helped me refine the remaining medicinal power of the profound origin internal cleansing pill in my internal organs. Xiao Han's heart moved. Your physical body is quite tyrannical. My knife Qi actually didn't cut your body in half. Not bad, not bad. However, when the knife Qi entered your body, you were unable to dissolve it. At this moment, your meridians must have been broken and your internal organs must have become slag, right? Huarong laughed sinisterly and walked towards Xiao Han step by step. He was confident that this knife Qi would definitely kill Xiao Han. As a matter of fact, ordinary bone refining realm and viscera refining realm experts would definitely die under this knife Qi. Xiao Han buried his head deep into the ground. His heart was already stretched taut and his spirit was like a bowstring that was pulled to its limit. 10 steps, 5 steps, 3 steps. Now. Suddenly Xiao Han, who should have been dead, actually jumped up like a wild beast. With a ferocious look in his eyes, he suddenly punched with his right fist. Sovereign descent. Xiao Han's punch contained the great power of the emperor. A virtual image of the emperor king broke through the sky and looked down on the common people. A huge imposing aura instantly enveloped Huarong. Huarong had never thought that not only did Xiao Han not die, but he was also able to explode with such a ferocious battle strength. His heart surged with a bad premonition that his life and death were in someone else's hands. Moreover, under the imposing aura of this punch, Huarong's knife Qi appeared to be dispirited for a moment. Damn it! Huarong's figure retreated and his right hand directly touched his shoulder, preparing to pull out the single knife on his back. He laughed sinisterly. Xiao Han, you really have some tricks up your sleeve. However, the difference in strength between us is too big. To be able to force me to pull out my knife, you can die in peace. However, at this moment, Xiao Han's left arm flashed with a demonic light. In an instant, sand and stones were sent flying and demonic Qi soared to the sky. Xiao Han's left hand directly transformed into a demon emperor's palm. Bang! 100 cauldrons of strength was brazenly crushed out. Caught off guard, it directly hit Huarong's chest. In an instant, Huarong's entire chest caved in. His sternum was crushed into powder, his heart meridians were broken, and his heart was smashed into several pieces. Pooh! Huarong violently vomited blood towards the sky. His whole body was like a sandbag that was sent flying dozens of steps away. He fell to the ground and twitched continuously. His right hand was holding the knife hilt, but he no longer had the strength to pull out the knife. Hee. At this moment, Xiao Han vomited a small mouthful of blood. He looked at the place where Huarong's knife had slashed him. His clothes were torn and there was a ghastly scar on his chest. It was dripping with blood and his flesh was exposed. I was almost pierced by that knife. However, I made the right bet. Xiao Han grinned hideously as he walked towards Huarong. Yes, Xiao Han was gambling from the beginning. Xiao Han knew that Huarong's cultivation was high, his strength was strong, and his knife skills were extremely heaven-defying. If he were to fight with Huarong head-on, there was only death for him. Not to mention anything else, Huarong's continuous knife Qi attacks from a distance would also grind Xiao Han to death. To kill Huarong he had to take a risk. A life for a life. Only then would he have a chance to turn the tables. As for Xiao Han's wager, 1 was the miraculous indestructible golden body. 2 was that when Huarong killed Xiao Han, he actually did not pull out his knife. He had underestimated Xiao Han too much. If Huarong had immediately pulled out his knife and slashed at him, Xiao Han would absolutely not dare to gamble. Senior brother Huarong, you are really powerful. Even if I had a great fortuitous encounter, my current limit is only to withstand one of your knife hand attacks. I'm also heavily injured now. If you had used your knife from the beginning, the one who would have died would definitely be me. Your knife skills are too powerful. I admit that I am not a match for you. The demon, the arch palm on Xiao Han's left hand emitted surging demon Qi and was overflowing with ruthlessness. The 1-meter-long demon, the arch palm, scraped the ground and cut it open like tofu. However, the winner takes all. No matter how powerful you are going to be killed by me now. Demon. Demon race's method? Xiaohan. You actually used the method of the demon race. You are insane. You have already entered the demon Dao and will be despised by the whole world. Everyone has the right to kill you. Huarong's body kept convulsing as his life force was draining away crazily. His heart had already been shattered and there was absolutely no way for him to survive. Demon race's method? I don't care about these. It's fine as long as I can kill people. I'm nothing much. Since you want to kill me, I will eliminate your entire family first. Xiaohan walked to the front of Huarong and looked down at the dying Huarong on the ground as if he was looking at an ant. Senior brother Huarong, let me send you off. Xiaohan said indifferently. Between life and death, Huarong was filled with fear and despair that he had never felt before in his life. Xiaohan. No. Don't kill me. I am an inner sect disciple. If you kill me you will not have a good ending either. Don't make a mistake. Ha. Xiaohan laughed softly. Senior brother Huarong, you are about to die. Why are you still talking nonsense? No. I Huarong am not resigned to this. I Huarong have been nourishing my body since I was 5, exploding my bones at the age of 7, refining my organs at the age of 9, refining my marrows at the age of 13 and changing my blood at the age of 17. Now I Huarong have half a step of true Qi and have comprehended the power of the Tao of Knife. I am destined to be a great figure in the future. Why am I going to die in the hands of an outer sect disciple? I Huarong am not resigned to this. Bang! Xiaohan's left demon the arch palm blasted out. As if the sky was collapsing, Huarong's body was directly smashed into pieces and scattered in all directions. At this moment, Xiaohan saw an ancient ring on Huarong's right index finger that was blasted out. Under the reflection of the sunlight, there were occasional glimmers of treasure light. Chapter 31. A martial artist at the beginning of the Viscera refinement realm killed a peak of the blood transformation realm, a great expert half a step into true energy. It was unbelievable. The weak defeated the strong. This greatly sharpened Xiaohan's spirit and planted a seed of confidence in his mind. His willpower improved by leaps and bounds and could no longer be erased. After killing Huarong, Xiaohan noticed that on Huarong's right index finger, there was an ancient ring. Xiaohan walked over and bent down to take the ring off. This ring was made of an ancient design, neither gold nor jade. He didn't know what material it was made of. Occasionally there would be a flash of light and it emitted an obscure and mysterious aura. I remember now. When I entered Lu Town, the demon general disguised as the mayor bribed Huarong with a few boxes filled with gold, silver, jewelry, ginseng and Chinese knotweed. At that time Huarong just wiped the ring and kept the boxes. Xiaohan's mind flashed. This thing, could it be the legendary storage ring? Xiaohan had heard Cho mention before that some treasures had their own space inside and could be used to store things. They were usually made into jewelry such as rings and earrings to be worn everywhere. Moreover, before Xiaohan transmigrated, he had read many cultivation novels. The frequency of storage rings appearing in these novels was very high. Therefore, after Xiaohan obtained this ring, he wasn't completely muddle-headed. All treasures had to be recognized by blood. Xiaohan's heart palpitated. Without hesitation, he lightly bit his finger and dripped a drop of hot blood onto the ring. After a few breaths, a crisp sound came from the inside of the ring as if some shackles had been broken. Immediately after, a ray of light shot into Xiaohan's brain, causing Xiaohan to instantly have a feeling of flesh and blood connecting with the ring. It was hard to separate. Done. This thing has changed owners. It's mine. Xiaohan was elated. But he didn't immediately check what was stored in the ring. Xiaohan activated the demon god palm and dug a deep pit on the ground. He piled Huarong's scattered body parts into the pit and buried them with soil. After doing all this, Xiaohan slipped into the dense forest in front of him. He scuttled up a thick canopy of an old crooked tree and sat cross-legged on a thick branch. Xiaohan focused his mind and immediately saw a space about 5 feet square inside the ring. There were 3 boxes, 3 blades and some miscellaneous items inside. Of the 3 chests, 2 were filled with gold, silver, jewels, jadeite and jade, while the last one was filled with ginseng, knotweed and other nourishing medicinal herbs. It was what Huarong plundered from Willow Town. The 3 sabers were just ordinary steel sabers with a thick back and thin edges. They were bright and sharp. There was also a saber manual, Thunderclap Extermination Saber. This was the saber technique that Huarong mainly cultivated. When he cultivated it to the advanced stage, he would comprehend the force of the saber, and he would be able to kill from a distance. Saber chi would move about freely and destroy the 9 continents, and it was even to the extent that every single saber strike carried the sound of a storm and tide. It could be considered a superior saber technique. Xiao Han also found a pile of true martial coins in his storage ring. He counted them and found that there were only 3,000 of them. Other than that, there was nothing else. That's all you've got? How shabby. Xiao Han shook his head. It seems that martial artists are really poor. Especially martial artists with high cultivation base, most of their wealth is used to buy medicinal pellets, secret manuals, and even weapons. But speaking of which, Xiao Han was not completely without gains. At least he got a saber manual that he could ponder over and cultivate. 3,000 true martial coins could make do with buying some medicinal pellets. Moreover, this storage ring itself was a great treasure. It was almost indispensable in Jianghu. After hiding the storage ring on his body, Xiao Han looked at his nose and his nose at his heart like an old monk in meditation. At this moment, the heat in Xiao Han's body was washing away the medicinal power of the profound internal cleansing pill in his organs. After the invincible golden body absorbed a portion of the saber energy that entered his body, it transformed into a warm current that helped Xiao Han refine the remaining medicinal power in his body. According to the normal speed, Xiao Han would need at least 3 days to completely refine the medicinal power in his body and then reach the initial success stage of the organ's refinement realm. However, with the help of the invincible golden body and the saber energy, the remaining medicinal power in his body continuously dissolved and seeped into Xiao Han's organs. Xiao Han silently used the special breathing method of the organ's refinement realm and swallowed the medicinal power of the profound internal cleansing pill. Goo 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 goo, as Xiao Han's organs squirmed, they emitted a muffled sound like thunder. His heartbeat also slowed down and was faintly discernible. However, the squirming was very strong. Every time it moved, the sound of an iron hammer striking could be heard. His entire body was full of vitality and his strength was constantly growing, rising steadily. 4 hours later, success. The medicinal strength of the profound essence visceral cleansing pill has already been completely refined by me until not a drop is left out. I have reached the initial success stage of the organ's refinement realm. Xiao Han opened his eyes and a sharp light flashed in the depths of his eyes. At this moment, Xiao Han's organs were as hard as rocks. His inner qi was abundant and his breathing was continuous and deep. Just a slight exhale would faintly have the momentum of a raging wave sweeping across the shore. The organ's refinement realm was extremely good. Extremely strong. Moreover, the increase in strength was not just a little bit. Xiao Han lightly clenched his fist and the air exploded. He was extremely shocked. My fleshly body's strength actually reached 17 cauldrons. Almost doubled. This was simply inconceivable. It must be known that a normal physical body realm martial artist would have at least 5 cauldrons of strength after reaching the initial success stage of the organ's refinement realm. A middle stage martial artist would have at least 10 cauldrons of strength. A peak stage martial artist would have at least 20 cauldrons of strength. However, Xiao Han was only at the initial success stage of the organ's refinement realm and he already had 17 cauldrons of strength. It even far exceeded the basic strength of a normal middle stage organ's refinement realm martial artist. Xiao Han frowned and pondered for a long time before he finally understood. So it is because I have refined my bones extremely well. I have laid a solid foundation for the organ's refinement realm. A solid foundation. A normal bone refinement realm martial artist would have 3 cauldrons of strength when their bones explode 100 times. After entering the organ's refinement realm, once they reach the initial success stage, their strength would more or less double to 5 cauldrons. However, my bones explode 280 times and my strength would be 9 cauldrons. After reaching the initial success stage, my strength would be the same as other martial artists and my strength would more or less double to 17 cauldrons. Then when I reach the middle stage of the organ's refinement realm, my strength will reach 34 cauldrons. When I reach the peak of the organ's refinement realm, my strength will reach 68 cauldrons. When I reach the peak of the organ's refinement realm, my strength will naturally rise. The more solid his foundation was, the higher his cultivation would rise in the future. Great. I must reach the peak of the organ's refinement realm as soon as possible. The birth of the 9-tailed sunflower is a great opportunity for me, Xiao Han, to rise up in a short period of time. Xiao Han's eyes were completely burning with passion. However, at this moment, poof, 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 poof. Xiao Han's heart was burning with passion. His heart shot out colorful rays of light, endless divine brilliance, runes, heavenly flowers, and various strange phenomena. A large number of cocoons of light shot out. First, it was the 100 cocoons of light that represented the indestructible golden body. The 100 cocoons of light were neatly arranged in 10 rows. Each row had 10 cocoons of light. The 10 cocoons of light at the bottom row had already exploded and turned into 10 pictures that Xiao Han had cultivated thoroughly. At this moment, poof, 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 poof. The 10 cocoons of light in the second last row suddenly exploded without holding back. They turned into another 10 pictures and 10 movements. What? My cultivation has increased and the indestructible golden body has 10 more movements? There are a total of 20 movements now. This is a higher level cultivation technique for the indestructible golden body? Xiao Han's heart was burning with excitement. At the same time, the second cocoon of light that represented the Son of Heaven's divine fist also exploded. Son of Heaven's divine fist, second style. Emperor's robe. The mnemonic and picture of the second style of the Son of Heaven's divine fist were completely revealed. What? The follow-up cultivation technique of the Son of Heaven's divine fist is also out? Xiao Han was completely wrapped in shock and ecstasy. I didn't expect that the increase of my cultivation would bring me such benefits. The 2 cultivation techniques that I obtained from repairing the ancient parchment have been continuously perfected along with the increase of my cultivation and strength. Good. I was just worrying about not having a cultivation technique to cultivate. This is really a pillow for my drowsiness. However, Xiao Han did not immediately cultivate the follow-up cultivation techniques of the 2 cultivation techniques. He raised his head and looked at the sky. The sky was getting darker and the curtain of night was closing in. The night had quietly enveloped the land. Not good. The sky is dark and the full moon is about to appear. That 100-year-old 9-tailed sunflower flower is a top-grade viscera refinement spiritual herb. It is about to fully mature. Countless Jianghu people will be fighting for it at that moment. With a thought, all the cocoons of light entered Xiao Han's heart. He immediately jumped down from the treetop. I must not lose myself in cultivation and miss the opportunity to harvest the 9-tailed sunflower flower. If I'm late, I'm afraid I won't even have a bite of leftovers. With that thought in mind, Xiao Han's legs exerted force and he ran wildly. His body tore through the air and brought up a cloud of dust as he ran towards Crouching Bull Mountain. At that moment, Xiao Han had achieved initial success in the viscera refinement realm. His body was strong and his stamina was long. When he ran, he was as fast as a galloping horse and jumped like a tiger or leopard. When he was running at high speed, he suddenly stopped and suddenly changed directions. His control of his body was getting more and more exquisite. He was really quiet like a virgin and agile like a rabbit. Swift and decisive. After a while, Crouching Bull Mountain was right in front of him. He was about to arrive. P.S. Stay Up Late presents a chapter. Chapter 32. Just as he reached the entrance of the Crouching Bull Mountain, 2 figures suddenly moved. 2 men with long swords in their hands blocked Xiao Han's path. Who's there? The 2 men waved the long swords in their hands and shouted. Xiao Han stopped in his tracks and glanced sideways. Under the starlight, he saw that they were 2 17 to 18-year-old youths. They were dressed in miscellaneous clothes and wielded long swords. Judging from their aura, they should be ordinary lesser mastery viscera refinement realm martial artists. Oh, they're outer sect disciples of Cloud Rain sect? When the 2 youths saw Xiao Han's clothes, they exchanged glances and their eyes were filled with shock and fear. It seemed that disciples of large sects still had a deterrent effect on most of the pugilistic world. Friend, why are you here? One of the youths asked hesitantly. To pluck the 9-tailed sunflower herb. Please let me pass, Xiao Han said calmly. Now that Xiao Han's battle strength had increased tremendously and he had killed Huarong, who was half a step into true qi, his every move was filled with confidence and he could not be taken lightly. It also showed some of the demeanor of a sect disciple. All right, please. The 2 youths did not dare to offend Xiao Han and stepped aside to make way. Xiao Han nodded slightly and his figure flashed as he dashed inside. He could vaguely hear the conversation between the 2 youths. To think that disciples of large sects who do not lack resources would also covet this 9-tailed sunflower herb. So what? That youth just now is a few years younger than us and he's only in the viscera refinement realm. His cultivation base is low. He's just using the fact that he's from Cloud Rain sect to swindle people. In terms of ability, he might not be able to match up to you and me. That's true. We're brothers and it's easy to talk to each other. However, Those ruthless people inside might not give Cloud Rain sect face. It's fine if that youth goes in just to watch the show, but if he dares to snatch the treasure, he might be beaten to death immediately. The fugitives of the pugilistic world are capable of anything. After running for a few breaths of time, the road in front of Xiao Han suddenly opened up. He saw a large grassland in front of him about 10 acres in size. Behind the grassland was the dark crouching bull mountain, with trees baring their fangs and brandishing their claws. At the entrance of Crouching Bull Mountain, there was indeed a deep pond about 1 acre in size. When the night wind blew, the water in the pond rippled slightly. Beside the deep pond, there was a crypt, like the mouth of a monster, waiting to devour people. A desolate and savage aura emanated from the cave, as if some extremely dangerous creature was hibernating there. A fishy smell wafted out of the cave, making one feel nauseous. In fact, he could vaguely see 2 lantern-like objects in the cave. They were scarlet red and filled with bloodthirst and brutality. Ow, ow, a low roar came from the cave. This roar contained deep rage. However, behind the crypt, on top of a small mound, there was a spirit herb swaying gently. This spirit herb was shaped like a sunflower. It had 9 colorful tails and emitted a rich medicinal fragrance. This fragrance lingered in the night wind, refreshing and intoxicating. Xiao Han was at least 10 meters away from the spirit herb, but he could still smell the fragrance. The pores on his body opened up and he felt refreshed. 9-tailed sunflower herb. Xiao Han licked his lips. He was tempted. At this moment, there were at least 200 people standing in the grassland. These people had a mixed aura. Some were in the bone refinement realm, some were in the viscera refinement realm, and some were in the marrow refinement realm. There were a few breaths that were faintly discernible. Their temperament was like wood and stone, and Xiao Han could not see their depth. Moreover, these people had different appearances. Some were rough, some were gentle, some were ferocious, some were introverted, some carried weapons, and some were empty-handed. The only similarity was that these people were staring at the 9-tailed sunflower herb. Deep in their eye sockets, there was a deep greed and passion. So many people? Xiao Han frowned slightly. Xiao Han glanced at them. These people were dressed in a variety of clothes. They did not seem to be people from big sections. They were all rogue cultivators who wandered the Jianghu. They were all physical body realm martial artists. There was no true Qi realm martial artist. Of course, why would a true Qi realm martial artist be interested in a viscera refinement spirit herb? At this moment, the 200 people gathered on the grassland noticed Xiao Han. All of them turned to look at him. They immediately displayed a myriad of expressions. Some were shocked, some were fearful, some were murderous, some were disdainful, and some were just watching the show. Oh, Cloud Rain sect's disciple? A skinny old man snorted. The aura around him rumbled like a tide. His strength washed above his head and vaguely condensed into a wooden pillar. The wood was simple and mottled. This old man's cultivation was at least at marrow refinement. He might even be in the midst of blood transformation. He rolled his eyes and said to Xiao Han coldly, "Young man, sect disciples never lack resources. Why are you here to stir up trouble? I see that you are only at viscera refinement realm. I'm afraid you don't have the ability to eat this 9-tailed sunflower herb. Hurry up and retreat. Don't make a mistake. Don't think that everyone is afraid of disciples from big sects like you." A middle-aged brawny man who looked like an iron tower stepped out. He was domineering. His face was filled with scars and his eyes were like copper bells. He was aggressive and his strength howled. There seemed to be a sea of blood above his head, emitting a terrifying aura of a mountain of corpses and a sea of bones. When the fight starts later, everyone will fight with their lives on the line. Swords have no eyes. Don't cry if you're hurt. Ah. Some of the pugilistic world guests laughed and echoed. There was no lack of desperados in the pugilistic world. Not everyone was afraid of sect disciples. Especially a sect disciple like Xiao Han who was young and did not have a high cultivation base. He could not suppress the old foxes of the pugilistic world at all. Young man, it's wishful thinking to think that you can get the treasure. Don't think that it's easy to roam the pugilistic world. Without the protection of the sect, you are nothing. Leave as soon as possible. Otherwise, there is a possibility of dying. Another middle-aged man in purple robes said boldly. His eyes were sharp. If it was in the past, Xiao Han would definitely be afraid when facing such a large group of pugilistic world guests. But today Xiao Han's will was extremely tough and inextinguishable. After hearing the threats from these pugilistic world guests, Xiao Han was not afraid at all. Instead, his killing intent was aroused. He said indifferently, "Heavenly treasures, everyone who sees it has a share. When the time comes we'll have to rely on our own skills. Ha ha ha. A strange laughter rang out, and a short young man looked at Xiao Han from within the crowd. His facial features were wretched, but there was violence and savagery hidden deep within his eyes. A bone-chilling wolf howl burst forth from his body as he repeatedly sized up Xiao Han, and then said in a low voice, "Every disciple of the pugilistic world is overflowing with wealth. I wonder if this kid has any treasures on him, hee." In other words, he was coveting Xiao Han's belongings and had the intention to kill him and rob him. Mountain Wolf, it's Mountain Wolf, he's a famous solitary bandit in the pugilistic world. It said that he once robbed a few cities and killed disciples of the pugilistic world. His crimes are too numerous to be recorded. He's a vicious person who has committed countless crimes. A young pugilistic world guest in white said, "Hee, you dare to say my name, you're dead." The short young man laughed and looked at the young man in white. In the next moment, swish, Mountain Wolf's figure flashed. In a breath's time, he appeared in front of the young man in white. He stretched out his right hand and his strength tore through the air. Moreover, the strength formed into a sharp wolf claw. It flickered with a dim light and grabbed. Peef! The young man in white let out a miserable howl. His footsteps swayed as if he was drunk. His right hand tightly covered his heart. Blood spurted out recklessly and dyed his white robe red. He said in a daze, You, hee. Mountain Wolf took a step back and opened his right hand. Under the starlight, a bloody thing appeared in his palm. It was the size of a fist and seemed to be beating gently. It was actually a heart. You are so ruthless. The young man in white fell to the ground. His body twitched a few times and died. The scene in front of them was actually the Mountain Wolf's killing move. In a single move, the young man in white's heart was plucked out while he was still alive. The young man in white had only said the name of Mountain Wolf and was already killed. Mountain Wolf's nature was cruel and temperamental. He would pluck out the hearts of people at every turn. He vividly displayed his identity as a fugitive of the Jianghu. A large group of Jianghu practitioners standing in the surroundings were so frightened that they quickly moved away, afraid that their hearts would be plucked out. Mountain Wolf purposely played with the heart in his hand. He looked at Xiao Han with a smile and said to himself, "Sect disciple. Not bad. Not bad." Xiao Han remained calm and thought, "I have seen the demon race tearing people apart with my own eyes. I have seen loose demons, demon soldiers and demon generals. I have also seen the glory of a true Qi realm expert. I have even killed a great expert who is half a step into the true Qi realm. Who do you think you are? Do you think plucking out a heart will scare me? What an idiot. If we fight one-on-one, I can instantly crush you with my demon the Arch Palm." "You're not afraid?" Mountain Wolf looked at Xiao Han with slight surprise. "You better not fall into my hands. Otherwise you will die for sure." Xiao Han smiled indifferently. Right now Xiao Han finally understood something. When traveling in the Jianghu, one must never show weakness in front of others. Even if one had to hold on, one must hold on. Otherwise, there would always be people who would climb on top of one's head and shit on one's head. Once Xiao Han said this, the surrounding crowd was shocked. "Ah, you sure have a tough mouth." Mountain Wolf's eyes flashed with an ominous glint as he said coldly, "You're also dead meat." Once Mountain Wolf said this, countless Jianghu practitioners looked at Xiao Han with pitiful eyes. At this moment, Mountain Wolf's body slightly swayed as if he was about to make a move. Xiao Han gathered all his strength in his right hand. His left hand was slightly trembling as he stared at Mountain Wolf without blinking. Xiao Han's blood surged with the nervousness and excitement when he killed Huarong again. Unexpectedly, at this moment, at the entrance of the foothill, there was a melodious music that attracted everyone's attention. Mountain Wolf fiercely glared at Xiao Han and immediately looked towards the direction of the music. Amidst the sound of light footsteps, 4 graceful and beautiful girls walked over. All of them were young and beautiful with a curvaceous body. One of them was holding a huqin, one was holding a zither, one was holding a flute, and the last one was holding a long sword that was embedded with precious stones. Behind the 4 young ladies, there was an elegant young man. This young man was around 18 or 19 years old. He was wearing a long golden robe, a jade crown on his head, and a silk belt around his waist. His face was like powder and he was fair and handsome. There was an indescribable nobility and grace in his temperament. The aura around his body was obscure, and there was sword qi surging through his pores. There was a feeling of his body becoming one with the sword, and the sword becoming one with the Tao. The sword produced zither sounds and the pearls splashed on the jade plate. There was a kind of arrogance in his bones. The four young ladies walked onto the lawn. One of them immediately took out a bronze incense burner and lit up the expensive incense. The other took out a piece of cloth and placed it on the grass. Then she bowed deeply to the young man and said gently, "Your Highness, please take a seat." The young man smiled reservedly and sat cross-legged on the cloth, just like a noble sitting in a golden throne room. Immediately the young ladies played the huqin and flute, trying their best to please and serve the young man. This young man's imposing manner was eye-catching. "Oh, this guy has an extraordinary bearing. I wonder where he came from." Xiao Han looked at the young man slightly. "It's the genius of Mingjian Villa, Shangguan Yi." A martial artist cried out. This Shangguan Yi is one of the few geniuses in the outer sect of Mingjian Villa. His sword skills are unparalleled. It is said that he has reached the blood transformation realm and is qualified to enter the inner sect. He is valued and nurtured by the sect. Another identity is that he is a member of the royal family of a small country in the southern region. Therefore, Shangguan Yi is also known as the third prince in the outer sect of Mingjian Villa. Mingjian Villa was one of the top 5 sects in Beacon Fire Empire. Their reputation was even greater than Cloud Rain sect. Third prince. You are a genius of Mingjian Villa and your reputation is rising. Do you also want this 9-tailed sunflower flower? It is said that you have already started to change your blood. This 9-tailed sunflower grass is completely useless to an expert of your level. The purple-robed middle-aged man who had previously threatened Xiao Han looked at Shangguan Yi with an extremely awkward expression. This crown prince was passing by Crouching Bull Town and heard that there was a heaven and earth treasure, so I came to take a look. Shangguan Yi smiled elegantly. Coincidentally, one of this crown prince's concubines is currently refining their organs. If I can get this 9-tailed sunflower flower, it will save me a few years of hard work. What? The genius of Mingjian Villa also wants to get involved? A large number of martial artists' expressions suddenly changed. Heaven and earth treasures belong to those who are capable. So what if you are from Mingjian Villa? Qi Shan's wolf harumphed coldly. It is still unknown who will win. The skinny old man who had transformed into a wooden stake said with a gloomy expression. That's right. Heaven and earth treasures belong to those who are capable. Shangguan Yi smiled coolly. Those who are capable should be in charge. That's really well said. The young girl who played the huqin giggled. Capable? My crown prince is a capable man. A bunch of motley crew are not even fit to carry my crown prince's shoes. Don't be so direct, although what you said is the truth. Shangguan Yi smiled proudly. This person's words showed that he did not put this group of martial artists in his eyes at all. One man and one sword. He was extremely arrogant. At this moment, a thought suddenly popped up in Xiao Han's mind. This guy calls himself the Crown Prince, and I cultivate the Son of Heaven's divine fist. The Crown Prince is the son of the Son of Heaven. Thinking about this, Xiao Han suddenly burst into laughter. Shangguan Yi turned his eyes and looked at Xiao Han. He saw that Xiao Han's clothes were torn and there was a saber wound on his chest. His left sleeve was already torn. Although he was wearing the attire of an outer sect disciple of Cloud Rain sect, his cultivation was only at the organ's refinement realm. It was extremely low. Shangguan Yi smiled coldly. The way he looked at Xiao Han was like an emperor looking down at an ant. Friend from Cloud Rain sect, what are you laughing at? Do you think that my words are very funny? No. I just suddenly thought of a story between a son and a father, so I couldn't help but laugh. Xiao Han was still smiling nonstop. Shangguan Yi harumphed coldly and waved his hand in disdain. Organ's refinement realm? Hurry up and leave. Don't embarrass yourself and ruin Cloud Rain sect's reputation. Bullsh**. Xiao Han's expression did not change as he laughed softly. At this moment, Xiao Han had a fortuitous encounter. He refined the demon god's palm and cultivated the Son of Heaven's divine fist. The aura around him was even more dignified and inviolable. This crown prince was merely the crown prince of a small country. How dare he put on airs time and time again? Xiao Han could not take it anymore and scolded. The entire place was silent. What did you just say? Shangguan Yi stood up immediately. His face was red and he could not believe his ears. What did you just say? Say it again. I say. Are you deaf or something? Xiao Han grinned, baring his teeth. Xiao Han was determined to get that 9-tailed sunflower herb, and this Shangguan Yi obviously wanted it too. Both parties would definitely fall out and fight over the 9-tailed sunflower herb. Since they were going to offend him sooner or later, what difference would it make if they offended him earlier or later? Friends of the pugilistic world, His Highness the Crown Prince suddenly intervened in the nine-tailed sunflower herb. It's really not good. Why don't we join forces and get rid of him first? Once and for all. Without such a formidable opponent, wouldn't it be easier for everyone to fight for the nine-tailed sunflower herb? Xiao Han smiled evilly. The moment he said those provocative words, villains like the wolves of Mount Qi immediately became restless and overflowed with killing intent. Chapter 33. You're dead. Brat, you're really dead. Even Cloud Rain Sect can't protect you. Shang Guanyi's eyes were about to pop out of their sockets. Sword Qi shot up into the sky above his head. The sword roared like a dragon and the murderous aura around him rose steadily. Formless Sword Qi continuously cut the air in all directions, emitting a fragmented Qi sound. Shang Guanyi even ignored Xiao Han's provocation and sneered at those restless Jianghu martial artists. Whoever dares to come forward will be killed by this crown prince without mercy. Your Highness, kill him. The young lady with the treasure sword handed the sword over with the hilt facing Shang Guanyi. In fact, most of the martial practitioners present did not dare to make a move against Shang Guanyi. For the fugitives like Wolf of Mount Qi, the vicious thoughts in their hearts were extinguished in a flash. If they really wanted to fight Shang Guanyi to the death, they would have to eat a bear's heart and a leopard's gall. Shang Guanyi was also a disciple of a great sect. A blood transformation realm talent like Xiao Han, who was at the viscera refinement realm, could not be compared to him. He was not easy to kill, and if he was not killed, there would be endless troubles in the future. At this very moment, various thoughts were flashing through Xiao Han's mind. In terms of combat strength, Xiao Han's own realm and strength were far inferior to Shang Guanyi and even some of the martial practitioners present. In terms of martial skills, Xiao Han only had one trump card, Sovereign's Descent. He did not know any other martial skills. Only by using the demon god's palm would he have the ability to resist. However, the demon god's palm was something that could not see the light of day and was suitable for sneak attacks. Moreover, once the demon god's palm was released, no one must be left alive. Those who saw the demon god's palm must all die. Including Shang Guanyi, there were more than 200 of them. Xiao Han had no confidence that he could wipe them all out and kill all of them. If any one of them escaped, Xiao Han would no longer have a place to stand in Beacon Fire Empire or even the entire southern region. Objectively speaking, Shang Guanyi's combat strength was indeed slightly inferior to Huarong's. However, Xiao Han killed Huarong by pretending to be weak and launching a sneak attack when the enemy was unprepared. Xiao Han was still no match for Shang Guanyi in a head-on battle. He had to use the same move he had used against Huarong. Damn it, if I had some time to properly cultivate the indestructible golden body and the Son of Heaven's divine fist, I might be able to contend with this group of people. Xiao Han cursed in his heart. However, if his provocation failed and Shang Guanyi really wanted to attack immediately, Xiao Han would have no choice but to use the demon Thearka's palm to kill in order to save his life. I'll kill you like a pig or a dog. Shang Guanyi grinned hideously at Xiao Han. Suddenly, a white-bearded Jianghu man spoke to another Jianghu man beside him in an extremely low voice. I heard that this Shang Guanyi once sparred with an outer sect genius with the surname Shui from the Cloud Rain sect and lost by one move. Therefore he hated the disciples of Cloud Rain sect to the core. This time, this outer sect disciple from the Organs Refinement sect only offended him verbally, but Shang Guanyi actually used it as an excuse and wanted to kill. Before he finished speaking, Shang Guanyi put his right index and middle fingers together and made a sword gesture. With a wave of his hand, a ray of sword light flashed across the air with a strong metal-age qi. The white-bearded Jianghu man's head flew off and blood spurted out from his neck. The surrounding Jianghu men quickly retreated upon seeing the situation. However, at this moment, a bright full moon had already climbed to the peak of Crouching Bull Mountain silently. It was like a celestial being. Bright light poured down like spring water, illuminating the grassland at the foot of the mountain as if it was daytime. A wisp of moon essence shot right at the small mound beside the deep pool behind the crypt. That nine-tailed sunflower flower absorbed the moon essence. In an instant, its petals bloomed and the medicinal fragrance climbed to the richest and most enchanting peak. The nine-tailed sunflower flower has bloomed. The medicinal effect is at its best. A few Jianghu men immediately screamed. Snatch the herb. Quick, do it. More than 200 Jianghu martial artists swarmed like a tide. Their figures shot out like an arrow piercing through the clouds, rushing towards the mound. Get lost. All of you get lost. The Chi-Chi in Mountain Wolf's hands turned into two wolf claws. After images flashed as he clawed at them. Poof, poof, poof. The Jianghu men in front of him had their hearts and livers dug out. Blood gushed out and they fell to the ground dead. The nine-tailed sunflower flower is mine. The scrawny old man whose Chi-Chi had transformed into a wooden stake hugged his arms. He lifted the wooden stake and hammered it repeatedly, sweeping across the area. Those who stood in his way were defeated. Wooden dragon stake. Those who stand in my way shall die. Kid, I'll spare your worthless life for now. I'll take it later. Shengguani did not dare to be negligent. He threatened Xiaohan coldly and then flew towards the mound. He made a sword gesture with his index and middle fingers. Sword chi surged and was unstoppable. It swept through a group of Jianghu men like he was cutting melons and vegetables. The scene was a mess. In an instant, many Jianghu men died and the smell of blood filled the air. However, Xiaohan did not act rashly. Xiaohan stared at the cave and his lips curled into a cold smile. Just as the Jianghu cultivators were charging towards the mound with no regard for their own safety, a ferocious beast roar suddenly burst out from the cave in front of the mound. The next moment, howl! A beast with a bull's head, 4 hooves and a snake's body scuttled out of the cave. It was enraged and opened its mouth to bite. The beast's bull's head was the size of a water tank. Its eyes were like lanterns and it had a bloody mouth. Its hooves were split into 5 claws. Its snake's body was more than 6 meters long. Its tail swept across the ground, stirring up sand and stones and plowing out gullies. It had been guarding this 9-tailed sunflower for decades. Who would have thought that the moment the spiritual herb matured, there would be a large number of humans trying to snatch it? Since it had already gained intelligence, it naturally would not give up so easily. Ah! The beast bit the Jianghu man who was at the front. With a crack it bit him into 2. Bang! Then the beast's snake tail lashed out violently, causing the air to explode. With an earth-shattering momentum, it swept away thousands of soldiers and instantly turned several Jianghu men into minced meat. Kill the beast first. Then pick the spirit grass. The Jianghu men stopped and surrounded the beast. For a moment, all kinds of palm winds, saber lights, sword auras, and leg shadows were thrown at the beast. Swoosh, 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 Shengguani was the most ferocious. He waved the sword with both hands freely. The sword auras were like rainbows, targeting the weakest parts of the beast's body to kill. Pieces of scales were slashed and flew all over the sky. The beast was in pain and roared. Its ferocity was completely aroused. It soared into the sky and pounced on anyone it saw. Its claws, teeth, and tail were all used. For a moment, the humans and the beast were in a chaotic battle. Now, Xiaohan seized the opportunity. The blood vessels in his body surged. With the help of divine power, he rushed out. Xiaohan found a gap. He wanted to bypass the fierce battle between the humans and the beast and rush to the mound to pick the spirit grass. Stop. Little bastard, you want to take advantage of this? Die. Preposterous. Preposterous. In an instant, dozens of Jianghu men withdrew from the fierce battle. Some rushed to surround and kill Xiaohan. Some had the same idea as Xiaohan. They wanted to bypass the mound and get the spirit grass. This included the stronger wolf of Mount Qi and Shengguani. They all pounced at Xiaohan with murderous intent. At this moment, bang! A loud sound exploded from within Xiaohan's body. This loud sound was like the wrath of the heavens. It was as if dozens of tons of explosives had been detonated. The sound was swift and violent. It was as if the sky was falling and the earth was collapsing. Bone explosion style. 280 sounds exploded into one. Moreover, after Xiaohan's physical strength increased, the power contained in his bones and internal organs gathered at one point and exploded instantly. The sound was more than twice as violent as before. This sudden explosion caused the movements of the Jianghu men in all directions to freeze. The Jianghu men with low cultivation were even thrown out. Some were dizzy and felt like vomiting. Even the ferocious beast paused for half a breath. In the nick of time, Xiaohan had already leaped over the cave and rushed to the front of the mound before anyone else. He reached out his hand and plucked the mound. You can't get it? Go to hell. Shengguani roared. His right index finger and middle finger formed a sword seal. A sword chi shot out like lightning and hit Xiaohan's back. Pfft. The back of Xiaohan's clothes exploded into pieces. The sword cut an inch deep into his skin. Fresh blood spurted out. At the same time, wood dragon stake. Wolf claw of Mount Qi. 2 ruthless attacks landed on Xiaohan's back like lightning and the wind. You're still not dead? You want to steal the nine-tailed sunflower? Dream on. Shang Guanyi sneered. He thought that Xiao Han was dead for sure after being hit a few times. It was not just Shang Guanyi. Almost all the Jianghu men thought that Xiao Han's body would explode in the next moment. However, Xiao Han took a few hits on his back. Blood spurted from his mouth, but his hands did not stop moving. He instantly plucked the nine-tailed sunflower, rolled on the ground, and dashed into the crouching bull mountain like a ghost. What? Shang Guanyi and the rest of the Jianghu people were as shocked as statues. In reality, it was impossible for Xiao Han to steal the nine-tailed sunflower from under the noses of hundreds of Jianghu men. However, there was always a chance of survival. Xiao Han used all his skills, calculated meticulously, and used all his trump cards. He grasped the only chance of survival and completed the impossible. If Xiao Han only had the trump card of bone explosion, it would still be impossible for him to pluck the nine-tailed sunflower. After all, although bone explosion was ferocious, it did not have much negative effect on a marrow refinement realm martial artist, let alone a blood transformation realm martial artist. Bone explosion could only buy a moment for Xiao Han. Moreover, Xiao Han knew that this moment was far from enough. The moment he plucked the nine-tailed sunflower, he would definitely be attacked. In that case, the indestructible golden body would completely help Xiao Han complete the second step of plucking the nine-tailed sunflower. In the third step, after Xiao Han succeeded, he sneaked into the crouching bull mountain without hesitation. He did not allow his thoughts to have any hesitation or sluggishness. He did not give the group of Jianghu men any chance to kill him on the spot. Xiao Han planned before he acted. He dared to fight, dared to gamble, and dared to barge in without any hesitation. He was truly brilliant. Damn it. Shang Guanyi was enraged. He almost went berserk. He pulled out a sword from a girl's hand and condensed all the sword chi in his body into one point. The sword gleam was dark like water, and the sword force was unconstrained as it charged towards the beast. Some of the Jianghu men also treated the beast as a target to vent their anger. They attacked it with all their might, sparing no effort. After a few breaths, the beast was beheaded and completely destroyed. Dozens of Jianghu men's corpses were left on the lawn. The bloody aura was overwhelming. However, the hill was empty. The nine-tailed sunflower that everyone fought for with their lives had already been taken by Xiao Han. This was the greatest irony. After a moment of silence, a Jianghu man suddenly said, "Everyone, the nine-tailed sunflower is a top-grade spirit herb for refining organs." That's right. However, after consuming it, it needs to be matched with some supplementary medicine in order to completely refine the medicinal power in a short period of time. Many Jianghu men raised their eyes and looked at the Jianghu man who spoke. Shang Guanyi nodded slightly. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. Yes, that's true. In other words, even if that kid consumed the nine-tailed sunflower immediately, he wouldn't be able to refine much of its medicinal power in a short period of time. He squinted his eyes slightly. His fair and handsome face was filled with ferocity as he said faintly, "If we catch that kid now, we can still get the spirit herb by cutting open his stomach. Let's do it." The mountain chi wolf stuck out his scarlet tongue and licked his lips. "Enter the mountain immediately and kill that little bastard. After we catch him, we'll cut open his stomach and take out the spirit herb." Some of the Jianghu men cowered and did not respond. An old man sneered. "Today's matter can no longer be settled peacefully. That kid is a disciple of the Cloud Rain sect after all. If he doesn't die and we set the tiger free, he will take revenge on us sooner or later. It's very easy for the Cloud Rain sect to deal with us rogue cultivators. Therefore, that kid must die." With that said, many of the Jianghu men were ready to make a move and their murderous intent burst out. A gentleman does not stand in front of a collapsing wall. He who strikes first has the upper hand. Let's not talk about the spirit herb first. Let's work together and find that kid and kill him first. We'll get rid of any future troubles. Suddenly Shang Guanyi chuckled. Interesting. That kid is only at the viscera refinement realm, but he's able to withstand my sword chi and not die. I'm afraid he has cultivated a body tempering technique. Even in our Mingjian villa, a superior body tempering technique is extremely rare. All right. Once we catch that kid, you can do whatever you want to him. If he consumes the nine-tailed sunflower flower, I don't want it anymore. I only want to force him to tell me his body tempering technique. I have no other request." As soon as he finished speaking, a group of Jianghu men entered the crouching bull mountain in a single file. Shang Guanyi strode forward proudly and handed the sword to his subordinate girl. With his hands behind his back, he also entered the crouching bull mountain. The pursuit has begun? P.S. I'm feeling dizzy from staying up late to update. Please recommend me. Chapter 34. He held the blooming nine-tailed sunflower in his hand. At this moment, Xiao Han had forcefully withstood Shangguan Yi's sword Qi, as well as the Mount Qi wolf and the skinny old man's attacks. Xiao Han's body was riddled with wounds. His internal organs, meridians, bones, and flesh were all severely damaged. He kept vomiting blood and was on the verge of death. The extent of his injuries this time was no less than when he was punched hundreds of times by Wu Yan in the arena. Xiao Han could fall at any moment. He was relying on his last breath, his will, and his survival instinct to force himself to hold on. The hidden potential in his body was completely stimulated. This was the so-called life and death trial. A line between life and death. It was not an exaggeration to say that if Xiao Han could survive this, his spirit and aura would be greatly improved. Even his temperament would be transformed. This crouching bull mountain was lush with lush vegetation. There were thousands of ravines, colorful waterfalls, flowing springs, and lofty rocks. Xiao Han ran for a full hour before he found a precipitous mountain wall. Demon God's palm, come out. Xiao Han's left arm flashed with demonic light. The wind and clouds surged as the demon God's palm changed. Boom. Xiao Han used all his remaining strength and used the demon God's palm to forcefully carve a cave on the mountain wall. Cough. Xiao Han coughed out a mouthful of blood and rushed into the cave. He used gravel to seal the cave entrance before he fell down completely like a pile of mud. This time was really too dangerous. In order to obtain this nine-tailed sunflower flower, I gave it my all and almost lost my life. Xiao Han's mind was completely blank as he lay on the ice-cold stone ground and gasped for breath. Every time he breathed, he would feel a crushing pain in his body. Hua hua hua, the heat produced by the indestructible golden body constantly washed through Xiao Han's body. It provided precious life force for Xiao Han, who was almost exhausted. Just like that, Xiao Han lay quietly for 2 hours like a beast in a cave. Huff! Xiao Han opened his eyes and let out a breath of turbid air. My life is saved. However, any random martial artist can kill me now. My physical strength is almost insufficient for me to activate the demon Thearka's palm. My injuries are too severe, causing the recovery speed of my indestructible golden body to be much slower than before. Xiao Han silently pondered. Suddenly an idea flashed through Xiao Han's mind. Indestructible golden body? Wait. I have already obtained the follow-up cultivation technique of the indestructible golden body. Why not take this opportunity to study and cultivate? It might even be able to speed up the healing process. As he thought of this, Xiao Han did not have time to think. He silently chanted the indestructible golden body. In the blink of an eye, countless divine talismans and multicolored light shot out of his heart. The 100 light cocoons representing the indestructible golden body were neatly arranged in Xiao Han's field of vision. The first 20 cocoons of light had already exploded, forming 20 pictures. That was 20 moves. Every movement had a red line wandering around. Xiao Han had practiced the first 10 moves thousands of times. Now he began to practice from the 11th movement. Of course, the current Xiao Han was covered in injuries and his physical strength was exhausted. Naturally, it was impossible for him to stand up and practice. He used his consciousness and body to move freely, concentrating his mental strength to visualize the 11 to 20 moves of the indestructible golden body. The warm current in his body began to follow the red line marked on every picture and slowly flowed through Xiao Han's body, organs and meridians. Gradually, Xiao Han entered a state where he forgot about himself and everything else. He was like an old monk meditating. All the pain in his body no longer mattered. Everything was forgotten. Following Xiao Han's visualization, the warm current in his body continued to grow and expand. Before this, Xiao Han had made great progress in the first 10 moves of the indestructible golden body. It formed a natural circulation of warm current in his body, about the thickness of a wrist. But later on, no matter how much Xiao Han practiced, this warm current as thick as a wrist would not increase. However, when he was practicing the next 10 moves, the warm current in his body began to expand. Time flew. The first ray of dawn shone through the cracks of the gravel and into the cave. It shone on Xiao Han's body, making him feel warm. I Xiao Han am really blessed. Ah! Xiao Han immediately sat up from the ground. He slightly moved his muscles and bones, making a crackling sound like frying beans. At this moment, the tiredness on Xiao Han's face had disappeared and the sword wound on his back had already formed a scar. Other than his physical strength still being a little weak, Xiao Han's injuries had already recovered by more than half. Boom, 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 within Xiao Han's body the warm current flowed like a tide. Last night, Xiao Han had already practiced the next 10 moves of the indestructible golden body to the back of his hand. The warm current in his body expanded from the thickness of a wrist to the thickness of a thigh. It had increased by 1-fold. This abundant warm current was full of vitality. It rolled around Xiao Han's injured body, constantly nourishing and repairing it. It also returned to Xiao Han's internal organs and life force. Xiao Han spat out a mouthful of phlegm. It was a part of the impurities in his internal organs that had been discharged. Good, this is great. While the indestructible golden body is healing my injuries, it has also strengthened my internal organs and bones to a certain extent. Now, the warm current in my body is like a swimming dragon, like the sun and moon shining in the sky. My life force is much more vigorous than before. My self-healing ability has greatly improved. My resistance to attacks has greatly improved. This divine art is truly miraculous. If I can master the next 80 moves, wouldn't I become an unkillable cockroach? Ah. After enduring the most difficult night, Xiao Han's heart was indescribably proud. He looked sideways and saw the 9-tailed sunflower lying flat on the ground. The petals bloomed and a navy green fruit spat out from the pistil. It was the size of a green date and emitted a refreshing medicinal fragrance. This young master has risked his life for this thing. Xiao Han slightly closed his eyes and took a deep breath, letting the medicinal fragrance penetrate deep into his internal organs. Xiao Han's face immediately revealed an expression of enjoyment. Just smelling the medicinal fragrance is so refreshing. It actually has a taste of enlightenment. Once I consume this medicine, what will happen? Ah. No wonder so many martial artists are scrambling to get it. In the end, it will still be this young master who will take the spirit herb for himself. No matter what, I will consume the spirit herb first. Peak of the Viscera Refinement Realm. Ah. Xiao Han grabbed the 9-tailed sunflower flower and plucked the fragrant navy green fruit and directly stuffed it into his mouth. Crack, crack, crack. As he chewed, the medicinal juice rolled and overflowed with a sweet fragrance. Waves of pure medicinal energy rushed into Xiao Han's throat and filled his internal organs. Not long after, the dark blue fruit was completely eaten by Xiao Han, including the skin and the flesh. His stomach was filled with majestic medicinal energy. Goo 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 goo. In an instant, his internal organs were nourished. They let out a joyful wriggling sound. However, the medicinal energy of this 9-tailed sunflower flower is indeed unparalleled. It is more than 10 times stronger than the Profound Essence Viscera Cleansing Pill. However, the absorption and refinement process is extremely slow. According to the normal speed, I will need at least half a year to completely refine the medicinal energy. After consuming the 9-tailed sunflower flower, Xiao Han immediately understood that to completely refine the medicinal energy, it was not something that could be done overnight. Xiao Han frowned. He really wanted to reach the peak of the Viscera Refinement Realm immediately and enter the Marrow Refinement Realm. He could not wait any longer. He was like a groom in the bridal room, intimately rubbing his bride's ears and temples. He was filled with the desire to do that ecstasy and could not wait any longer. It was extremely uncomfortable for Xiao Han to wait for half a year to slowly refine the medicinal energy. It will take so long to refine the medicinal energy. By then it will be too late. Xiao Han was extremely anxious. Suddenly, there was a rush of footsteps outside the cave as if someone had stopped outside. Brother Feng, someone has opened up a cave on the mountain wall. It seems like someone is here? A mature young woman's voice could be heard outside the cave. Then she whispered, Brother Feng, could it be the outer sect disciple of the Cloud Rain sect? Sister Xia, don't spread the news. Let's take a look first. Another deep and steady male voice could be heard. If it's the disciple of the Cloud Rain sect, then we'll just keep quiet and get rich. Once we get the spirit herb, we'll sneak out of Crouching Bull Mountain and everything will be fine. Okay. The young woman's voice was filled with joy. In the cave. Those Jianghu people are relentless and are chasing after me all over the mountain? Xiao Han's tightly knitted brows suddenly relaxed and he grinned. Good. Very good. That's great. A ray of light had already captured Xiao Han's attention. Xiao Han no longer hesitated. He pushed away the gravel at the entrance of the cave and strode out. Under the bright sunlight, a man and a woman stood outside the cave. The man was about 40 years old. He had thick brows and big eyes. He was tall and his breathing was like a mountain. His hands were empty but he was not angry. The woman was in her early 30s. She was dressed like a young woman. She had phoenix eyes and a small mouth. She was pretty and charming. However, she was holding a pair of mandarin duck sabers in her hands and there was a murderous aura between her brows. Aha! Brother Feng, it's that kid from the Cloud Rain sect. I didn't expect him to escape so far with severe injuries. However, we still found him. The young woman was beaming with joy. Kid, hurry up and hand over that nine-tailed sunflower. The young woman shouted at Xiao Han. She waved the sabers in her hands and a cold gleam shot out. Xiao Han patted his stomach and could not help but laugh. You guys are a step too late. I've already consumed the nine-tailed sunflower. Unexpectedly, the young woman giggled like a silver bell. So what if you've consumed it? You can't refine the medicinal effect anyway. I'll cut open your stomach and obtain the spirit herb all the same. Xiao Han's killing intent surged when he heard that. However, he still maintained a harmless smile on his face. The young woman didn't seem to care about Xiao Han at all as she continued to speak. I'm in the middle stage of organs refinement. I've been unable to break through the barrier and reach the peak because I don't have any resources. With this spirit herb, my cultivation will soar and I'll reach the peak of organs refinement. I'll then proceed to marrow refinement. Don't you think so, Brother Feng? The young woman was gleeful and could not help but turn back to look at the middle-aged man. Suddenly, the middle-aged man's eyes shone brightly. His right palm struck out like lightning and hit the young woman's back. The force of his palm shattered the young woman's heart meridian. She flew out over 10 steps like a sandbag and fell to the ground. Brother Feng. Why do you want to kill me? The young woman kept vomiting blood. Her eyes were filled with disbelief, horror, and hatred. Little sister Xia, I also want to obtain the heavenly treasure. The middle-aged man laughed softly. Besides, my son has also started to refine his organs. There's only one portion of the spirit herb. Why should I share it with you? All right, little sister Xia, go in peace. I'll take care of your sister for you. Ah. At this point, the middle-aged man could no longer hold back the ecstasy in his heart. He actually raised his head and laughed heartily. The young woman vomited a mouthful of blood. I didn't expect. You've always been thinking about my sister. That little bitch. Before she could finish speaking, her head tilted and she died. The rogue cultivators of the Jianghu are indeed cruel and sinister. They're like jackals, wolves, tigers, and leopards. Xiao Han shook his head. You actually dared to lay your hands on such a delicate beauty? You are truly deranged. Brat. You're about to die and you still dare to make sarcastic remarks. The middle-aged man grinned as he walked towards Xiao Han. His right palm hung down and a strong wind swept out, causing Xiao Han's sleeves to flutter. Brat, remember this. The person who killed you is Iron Palm, Li Yifeng. Lest you become a confused ghost when you go to the netherworld. And come over and hit me with your palm. Let's see if you can kill me. Xiao Han walked forward. Li Yifeng choked for a moment before the corner of his mouth twitched. I think you've been beaten, silly. As soon as he finished speaking, Li Yifeng raised his right palm. His bones and muscles exploded and his organs wriggled like a tide. With all his strength, his palm struck towards Xiao Han's chest. Bang! Xiao Han didn't dodge or evade this palm strike. He allowed it to strike his chest. A tremendous force rushed into Xiao Han's body like a flood. However, when this palm strike that could split a stone landed on Xiao Han's body, Xiao Han didn't even take half a step back. Xiao Han's expression didn't change. With a smile, he gently caressed the part of his palm and said indifferently, "It's about 30 cauldrons of strength. Your cultivation should be at the ordinary marrow refining realm. But you can't. Your strength is too weak. Our sect's disciples have at least 50 cauldrons of strength when they reach the marrow refining realm. But you only have 30 cauldrons. It seems that rogue cultivators of the Jianghu are really weak." Xiao Han spoke with fervor and assurance. Instead, he took a step forward and walked towards Li Yifeng. Li Yifeng's eyes widened to the size of cow eggs. He subconsciously took a step back. His heart was filled with shock and fear. How is this possible? This breaking stone palm has a palm force of 30 cauldrons. Can kill a giant elephant. Although the sect's disciples are powerful, this brat is only at the organs refining realm. Why can't I kill him? At this moment, the heat flow in Xiao Han's body doubled. It was as thick as a thigh and surged like a tide. His ability to resist attacks had greatly increased. After being hit by this rogue cultivator's palm strike, Xiao Han only felt a slight pain. But in an instant, The heat flow in his body absorbed the palm force and turned it into a warm current that refined the nine-tailed sunflower's medicinal power that had settled in Xiao Han's organs. However, this rogue cultivator's strength was not enough to quickly disperse the huge medicinal power that had settled in Xiao Han's body. That palm strike just now had only helped Xiao Han refine less than 1% of the medicinal power. Impossible. Li Yifeng's whole body trembled as if he had seen a ghost. He gathered all the strength in his body and clapped his palms together. Palm force gushed out like raging waves sweeping the shore. Bang! Bang! The two palms hit Xiao Han's body. Xiao Han's body took half a step back. And there is progress. Xiao Han slightly bared his teeth. It hurts a little. Damn it, it really hurts a little. However, your strength is still too weak. As soon as his voice fell, Xiao Han's left hand flashed with a demonic light. The demon emperor's palm burst out. The attack that could destroy heaven and earth instantly tore Li Yifeng into pieces. His body exploded in all directions. This strength is still not enough to quickly disperse the medicinal power that has settled in my body. Xiao Han slightly muttered. It seems that those rogue cultivators are chasing me everywhere. They want to cut open my stomach and take out the medicinal power that I have yet to refine. This is a hunting game. Suddenly Xiao Han's eyes burst out with killing intent. The corner of his mouth slightly curled up. However, who is the hunter and who is the prey, it is still unknown. Ah! Chapter 35. However, compared to last night when he was fleeing for his life, he was like a completely different person. After practicing the last 10 movements of the indestructible golden body, Xiao Han's body was as thick as a thigh, constantly flushing his body like the sun and the moon. This made Xiao Han's life force extremely vigorous. He was like a humanoid primordial beast. Moreover, after experiencing a few life and death situations, Xiao Han's spirit and aura had been tempered, becoming sharper by the day. Every word and action was filled with the confidence of an emperor. It was no exaggeration to say that Xiao Han had already developed a little bit of momentum and style. His state of mind had changed. What he lacked now was cultivation and strength. Therefore, Xiao Han was eager to refine the nine-tailed sunflower in his stomach to reach the peak of the viscera refinement realm and increase his strength. The nine-tailed sunflower's medicinal power is so strong that I can't refine it in a short period of time. Then I will find another way and let those martial artists help me refine the medicinal power. Ah! Xiao Han ran all the way with a smile on his face. They are chasing after me, but they don't know that they are helping me achieve my goal. Ah! Xiao Han understood that he was not the prey. Just as Xiao Han flashed past a small hill, a figure flashed in front of him. Two martial artists had already discovered him. Kid, stop. These two martial artists seemed to be twins. They both had sharp mouths and monkey cheeks. Judging from their aura, they should be ordinary marrow refinement realm cultivators. Their talent and strength were not even as good as Li Yifeng, who was killed by Xiao Han. The two of them each held an iron rod. They were aggressive. Haha, big brother. What? It's really the luck of us two brothers. One of the Jianghu men grinned and laughed. He approached Xiao Han step by step like a poisonous snake. He waved the iron rod in his hand like a flower, chopping, lifting, cutting, rolling, and stabbing. It was quite methodical. The heavy iron rod was like a lamp in his hand. Brother, don't talk nonsense. Kill him first and don't let others find out. This fat sheep, the two of us brothers will quietly swallow it. The other martial artist took a step forward and smashed his rod. The air exploded with a dull roar, like the roar of a mountain flood. Demon subduing rod technique. Xiao Han was not afraid at all. Instead, he suddenly turned around, arched his back and took the blow head on. Bang! The iron rod smashed into Xiao Han's back, producing a sound similar to that of a meteorite crashing into him. My strength is too little. I don't feel good. Xiao Han lightly leapt forward and immediately turned around, his eyebrows tightly knitted together. You're too weak. This rod strike is only slightly more than 20 cauldrons, not even 30 cauldrons. It seems like I have overestimated the strength of the Jianghu. In other words, the cultivators of the Jianghu were a mixture of good and bad people. In terms of strength evaluation, it was not as clear as the disciples of the sections. You are both at tempering marrow, but your combat strength is far inferior to Li Yifeng's. What? Iron Palm Li Yifeng? A Jianghu man blurted out. The Jianghu man who had smashed Xiao Han with his staff just now looked at Xiao Han, who was chatting casually. You're alright? What did you do to Li Yifeng? What did you do to him? Kill him, Xiao Han said calmly. The next moment, Let me send you guys on your way as well. Xiao Han's aura suddenly burst out. The Emperor's aura swept across the sky, enveloping the surroundings. A sovereign's descent was unleashed. This sovereign's descent was purely an oppressive move. It doubled Xiao Han's physical strength and destroyed half of his opponent's defense. With this, he would be able to kill his opponent in an instant. Bang! Under the influence of the Emperor's aura, the Jianghu man who had smashed Xiao Han with his staff just now had the seed of submission planted in his mind. It was as if he had even forgotten to resist. After Xiao Han achieved minor success in organs refinement, he punched out 17 cauldrons. The sovereign's descent increased the strength of his fist to 34 cauldrons. It was like a hot knife through butter. In an instant, the Jianghu man's sternum was smashed into pieces. His chest caved in and he flew out like a gunny sack. He vomited 3 liters of blood and died on the spot. The other Jianghu man was scared out of his wits. His legs were numb and powerless. The iron rod in his hand fell to the ground with a clatter. Don't kill me, don't kill me. Sorry, you guys wanted to kill me first. Xiao Han's expression did not change. He closed in and punched the Jianghu man to death. After killing the 2 Jianghu men, Xiao Han rummaged through their corpses. Other than a few dozen true martial coins, Xiao Han found almost nothing. Jianghu people are really poor and dejected. Xiao Han was speechless for a while. He put the dozens of true martial coins he had plundered into his storage ring, and then continued to run in the deep mountains and old forests to look for it. Dusk, Xiao Han crouched in front of a mountain stream. He used both hands to wash his face and drank the sweet mountain spring water to his heart's content. At this moment, Xiao Han's clothes were torn and tattered. Under the rays of the setting sun, one could vaguely see Xiao Han's smooth, cheetah-like muscles and his smooth, sparkling skin. Awesome. Xiao Han drank his fill of water and lay down on the side of the mountain stream. He let the afterglow of the setting sun shine on his body. Xiao Han breathed out a mouthful of turbid air. He closed his eyes and pondered, summarizing today's gains and losses. In the past few hours, Xiao Han had been running around in the Crouching Bull Mountain. He had encountered a total of 27 Jianghu men. Among them, 5 were in the bone refining realm, 9 were in the viscera refining realm, and 13 were in the marrow refining realm. Among the 13 marrow refining realm Jianghu men, only 3 people had strength greater than Li Yifeng. After a series of fierce battles, Xiao Han killed all of these Jianghu men who wanted to cut his stomach open. However, when he deliberately endured the beating of these Jianghu men, the medicinal power of the 9-tailed sunflower in Xiao Han's body was not refined much. So far, only 3 to 4% of the medicinal power in his body had been refined. The results were minimal. The strength of these Jianghu loose cultivators was really too small. Moreover, Xiao Han did not find any treasures from the corpses of the Jianghu men he killed. It was nothing more than some scattered true martial coins. As for the gold and silver in the secular world, Xiao Han did not even look at them and directly ignored them. There was another problem. When Xiao Han was fighting with these Jianghu men, he could only use the sovereign's descent over and over again. Otherwise, he would release the demon god's palm and directly crush them. Xiao Han found that his fighting style was too simple. The demon god's palm must not be seen in the light. It can only be used behind people's backs. It is not elegant. Those who have seen it must be killed. Then, the only martial skill that I can use openly is the Emperor's Divine Fist Sovereign's Descent. Xiao Han frowned and pondered. As for the Sovereign's Descent, it is my trump card. If I use it too often, it will inevitably be seen through by others. Even if they don't see through the flaws, they will study it over and over again and be prepared in advance. Xiao Han knew that many of the outer sect disciples of Cloud Rain sect had their own secret skills and ultimate moves. They would not use their trump cards until the very last moment. On one hand, it was to keep a trump card. On the other hand, it was a form of deterrence that would make the enemy wary and not know when they would use their trump cards. However, Xiao Han could only use the Sovereign's Descent over and over again without any trump cards. No, I have to cultivate another martial skill. As for the Emperor's Divine Fist, as a trump card, it can be used at the crucial moment to achieve miraculous results. Killing the enemy and dying. Xiao Han rubbed his nose. I can also cultivate the second style of the Emperor's Divine Fist, Emperor's Robe. However, it is best to keep it as my trump card and secret technique. The most important thing now is to find another martial skill to cultivate. I will be able to obtain a supreme grade elixir and a secret manual when I return to the sect. Good, very good. Just what I want. Then at this moment Xiao Han's ears twitched. He suddenly felt a dangerous aura approaching him. Here it comes again. I wonder what kind of trash it is this time. Xiao Han leaped up with a flip. Gradually, the air was filled with a faint fragrance of wood. The fragrance lingered in the air for a long time. It smelled like sandalwood, rosin, and fur. At the next moment, a skinny old man wearing a black robe came out from behind a bush. The blood in his body surged like a tide. His strength rose as if it had a substance. It was like a stampede of 10,000 horses with a terrifying aura. Above his head, a shadow of a wooden stake was formed. The wood was mottled and one could see the old bark and growth rings on it. It's you? Xiao Han recognized the skinny old man. He was one of the few experts in the pugilistic world. Moreover, when Xiao Han was plucking the nine-tailed sunflower grass, he was hit on the back by the old man and was injured. At this moment, Xiao Han took a closer look at the old man and realized that there was a simple and unadorned ring on his right index finger. It's a storage ring. Forgive me for being straightforward. Among the pugilistic world, those who can wear a storage ring should be considered very luxurious, right? Xiao Han looked at the skinny old man with interest. Young man, you are indeed a disciple of the Cloud Rain sect. He was severely injured last night, but in just one day he's already bouncing around and brimming with energy. He must have consumed some kind of divine healing medicine. Or, as Shangguani said, he must have cultivated an excellent body refinement technique. Foundation. This is the foundation of a great sect. How enviable. The old man's eyes were sinister and his expression was cold as he spoke slowly. He had a bearing that could control the life and death of others. He was indeed an expert. Ah, I'm ashamed. Didn't I also run away like a stray dog under your pursuit? Xiao Han grinned. Young man, you are too humble. Along the way I found many corpses. All of them were killed by heavy blows. Some of the corpses were even torn into pieces. It was a horrible sight. Young man, you did this, right? It seems that we have underestimated you. The skinny old man smiled sinisterly. However, this is the end. Huh? Xiao Han narrowed his eyes. Young man, you are decisive in killing. Under such a dangerous situation you still counterattacked and killed people. Moreover, this old man observed your bearing. You are fearless in the face of danger and have the demeanor of an expert. However, this is the end for you after meeting this old man. The skinny old man's body was filled with killing intent and his aura instantly rose. Although you have great potential, you are still a little too inexperienced for this old man. Let me tell you, this old man is not an ordinary rogue cultivator of the pugilistic world. This old man is the sect master of Withered Wood sect. People in the pugilistic world call me Venerable Withered Wood. It is a worthy death for you to die in this old man's hands. To be able to kill a talented young man of a big sect is truly a great joy in life. Ah. After killing you, the spiritual medicine in your stomach, your body refining technique and all your treasures will all belong to this old man. Ah. Venerable Withered Wood's aura rose steadily. The illusory wooden dummy formed by the energy above his head became more and more solid. Withered Wood sect? Xiao Han was stunned. He had read the books that Cloud Rain sect sent down and didn't remember there was a Withered Wood sect in Beacon Fire Empire. He guessed that it should be some unknown small sect. However, no matter what background this Venerable Withered Wood had, to Xiao Han, he was the best candidate to help him refine the medicinal effect in his body. Moreover, on his right index finger there was a storage ring. That was the symbol of wealth. Chapter 36. However, this kind of character was suitable for Xiao Han to refine the medicinal effect. Not only was Xiao Han fearless, but he was also excited to see his prey. Xiao Han did not seem to raise his aura. A smile hung on the corner of his mouth as he walked towards Venerable Kumu calmly. Of course, the indestructible golden body was circulating in his body endlessly. Venerable Kumu was stunned when he saw this. However, as a fugitive of the Jianghu, he had experienced the baptism of life and death many times in his life. His will was incomparably firm and indestructible. Immediately, Venerable Kumu revealed a sinister smile and said coldly, "Brat, what tricks do you want to play now? But let me tell you, it's all useless in front of me. You can only die." Withered Wood palm. Venerable Kumu raised his right palm. An ancient and mottled wood ring appeared on his palm and struck towards Xiao Han. Good move. Xiao Han raised his chest and welcomed the attack. Bang. The earth-shattering palm force threw Xiao Han a dozen steps away and he fell at the edge of the mountain stream. His body kept twitching. Ah. Sect disciple. I thought sect disciples had 3 heads and 6 arms. They really can't be killed. I didn't expect you to be killed with a single palm strike. Venerable Kumu laughed hysterically. Brat, it's not wrong for you to die in my hands. My cultivation has already reached the blood transformation realm. A single palm strike has a total of 80 dings worth of strength. Even ghosts and gods can be destroyed. 80 ding? Most of the blood transformation realm disciples in our Cloud Rain sect have at least 100 dings worth of strength. You're nothing much. Suddenly Xiao Han crawled up from the ground. The corner of his mouth was filled with blood, but his face was smiling like a spring breeze. There was a palm-sized mark on his chest. This palm print was coarse and had an antique feel. It was as if Xiao Han's chest was covered with a layer of tree bark. Xiao Han gently touched the tree bark palm print and coughed. His eyes narrowed. Nice. This is more like it. Just now, when Xiao Han received this palm strike, he only felt a withering palm force that could destroy a person's vitality. It directly penetrated his heart and lungs, causing him to feel a kind of withering sensation in his bones, flesh, and meridians. However, a warm current as thick as a thigh enveloped Xiao Han's body and the palm energy immediately melted. The warm current that flowed out of Xiao Han's body directly washed away the medicinal power that had settled in Xiao Han's 5 viscera and 6 bowels. A portion of the medicinal power was forcibly dispersed and completely integrated into Xiao Han's internal organs. Refine. This palm strike had actually refined 1/20th of the medicinal energy in Xiao Han's body. The mellow and rich medicinal energy was like fine wine. It was boiling in Xiao Han's internal organs. It was warm, nourishing, and strengthening. It was indescribably beautiful. Xiao Han couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of phlegm. It was all black and filthy impurities. This was the old dirt excreted from his internal organs after being forced out by the medicine. Come, continue. Venerable Kumu, your palm art is indeed not bad. It's not just a little bit stronger than ordinary martial artists. Xiao Han continued to stride towards Venerable Kumu. Of course, Xiao Han was also in pain after forcefully withstanding Venerable Kumu's palm strike. However, the slight pain was quickly drowned out by the refreshing feeling of refining the medicinal energy. This. Venerable Kumu looked at Xiao Han in disbelief as if he had seen a ghost. This old man's withered wood palm has killed countless powerful enemies. You brat. You are actually unscathed. No, impossible. The power of the withered wood palm penetrated your body and caused your vitality to wither. You are forcefully holding on. You must be forcefully holding on. Brat, this old man will kill you. Venerable Kumu's beard and hair were wild and his eyes were bloodshot. Both of his palms were stretched out and covered with dried skin. Both of his palms were pressed against Xiao Han's chest at the same time. Bang, bang. Xiao Han's clothes were torn into pieces and exploded into powder. His entire body flew out and fell on the edge of the mountain stream. His body kept spasming as he coughed out blood. Phew. In the end you are still killed. If you still can't be killed, then you are not a human but a mountain spirit, a monster. Venerable Kumu let out a long sigh of relief. Quickly cut open this brat's stomach and take out the spiritual medicine. After saying that, Venerable Kumu raised his foot and walked towards Xiao Han. However, comfortable. Although it is very painful, it is also very comfortable. I feel refreshed. Xiao Han suddenly stood up. These 2 palm strikes had completely dispersed 1/10 of the medicinal energy that had settled in Xiao Han's body. Currently, the medicinal energy in Xiao Han's body that could not be refined in time had already been completely refined by 3/10. This medicinal energy caused Xiao Han's internal organs to squirm even more vigorously. There was a vague feeling of a river smashing a table and rolling up 1,000 piles of snow. Come, continue. What other trump cards do you have? Use them all. Xiao Han's face was full of desire. At this moment, Xiao Han's upper body's clothes were in tatters. He was bare-chested and there were 3 layers of tree bark palm prints on his chest. His hair was messy and his face was covered in blood. However, his eyes were lively and full of expression. Not only did he not show any signs of withering, he seemed to be more energetic as he fought. What? Preposterous. You actually don't feel any pain? This palm force of nearly 100 cauldrons hammered on your body, you actually don't feel any pain? Venerable Kumu's voice was trembling. Pain, of course I feel pain. Why don't I feel pain? I'm dying of pain. Xiao Han said in an extremely serious manner. No. Venerable Kumu had roamed the Jianghu for his entire life, but he had never encountered such an evil thing. A trace of palpitation and fear surged in his heart as he took 2 steps back. However, at this moment he discovered that there was a storage ring on Xiao Han's right index finger. It was flickering with a dim light and was filled with a dense treasure aura. It turned out that Xiao Han's upper body's clothes were in tatters. Thus, he had taken out the storage ring that he had hidden on his body and wore it on his right index finger. Sect Disciple Storage Ring. An indescribable greed burst out from the depths of Venerable Kumu's eyes. His retreating footsteps stopped as his shoulders slightly trembled. You want my storage ring? Xiao Han immediately noticed the change in Venerable Kumu's expression and raised his right index finger. If you have the ability, then kill me and rob me. This young master will tell you, in this storage ring, there are all kinds of elixirs, secret manuals, true martial coins, divine weapons and so on. Do you want them? If you want it, then come and hit me. Kill me. Roar. Venerable Kumu let out a beast-like roar. Suddenly he hugged the air with both of his hands. Endless strength surged and rolled between his hands. The withered leaves above his head were fluttering and the air was dense with wood chi. The autumn wind was bleak and the weather was cold. The grass and trees swayed and turned into frost. A kind of domain of withering everything gradually spread out. What kind of martial skill is this? It's obviously a kind of force. Although it's not comparable to the Son of Heaven's great force of the Son of Heaven's divine fist, it's quite interesting when compared to Ling Feiyu's great force of sea and Meng Ran's great force of wind. Xiao Han's heart moved. Soon, between Venerable Kumu's arms, the strength chi turned into a wooden stake. This wooden stake was 1 zhang long. It was covered with withered skin and mottled. It looked antique, but it was as heavy as a mountain. Brat, you forced me to use this wooden dragon stake. You've died a worthy death. You've truly died a worthy death. Venerable Kumu slightly opened his eyes. In the depths of his eyes, there were actually wood rings rolling. Die. Venerable Kumu roared furiously. He hugged the wooden stake and stepped forward, smashing it towards Xiao Han's head. As he smashed, the air was crushed and the sound of giant wood rolling could be heard. It made people feel as if they were trapped in a primitive jungle. The towering trees in all directions collapsed together. Ka. Before the wooden stake arrived, the ground where Xiao Han was standing had already cracked like a spider web. Fight! Xiao Han clenched his teeth. The indestructible golden body in his body was pushed to the limit and he bent his waist. Bang! The wooden stake formed by the strength chi directly smashed onto Xiao Han's back. Po. The ground around Xiao Han, which was about 10 feet in circumference, exploded and flew in all directions, forming a small, shallow pit. Xiao Han was immediately smashed to the ground and twitched. Hu. Venerable Kumu was also panting heavily. His forehead was covered with soybean-sized beads of sweat. His face was as pale as paper and he was almost exhausted. The wooden dragon stake, just now, was the condensation of Venerable Kumu's entire life's worth of cultivation. It was a desperate attack that consumed a lot of energy. Cough. Venerable Kumu coughed repeatedly, then took a step closer to Xiao Han as he spoke to himself. He's still not dead? He must be dead. Shockingly. Xiao Han pushed himself off the ground with both hands and crawled up shakily. You used all your strength and your strength broke through 100 cauldrons. Powerful, truly powerful. You almost killed me. Xiao Han cried out and spat out a large mouthful of blood. Impossible. You're still alive. You're not human. You're the reincarnation of some savage beast. At this moment, Venerable Kumu was scared out of his wits. He was so scared that all the power in his body was scattered. He counterattacked and spat out a large mouthful of blood. Like a deflated balloon, his aura instantly weakened. I almost couldn't withstand that attack just now. It's the condensation of Venerable Kumu's entire life's worth of cultivation. It's really not a small matter. If I didn't cultivate the last 10 moves of the indestructible golden body, I would have been torn to pieces. Dangerous, so dangerous. However, fortune comes from danger. This is the truth that has never changed since ancient times. Although I was injured on the spot after this attack, 80% of the medicinal power in my body has already been scattered. Only 20% of the medicinal power has not been scattered yet. I'm about to succeed. Come, Venerable Kumu, hit me again, come. Xiao Han said fervently. Just one more time, one last time, hit me, quick. No, you get lost. Venerable Kumu's eyes were filled with chaos. He kept retreating with fear and despair. You're not human. Quickly get lost. Alright, don't talk nonsense. Hit me again, Xiao Han said patiently. No. I don't dare. I don't dare. Venerable Kumu's entire body suddenly twitched. His knees went soft and he directly knelt down. His voice was filled with tears. I beg you, let this old man go. This old man won't dare to do it again. I won't covet anything on your body anymore. Please let this old man go. You're definitely not human. What exactly are you? I'll let you King hit me again. Xiao Han was furious. Cough. Venerable Kumu's throat gurgled. His eyes instantly became unfocused and he began to babble. His mind was actually muddled and he was scared out of his wits. Damn it, just a little bit more. Xiao Han helplessly sighed. A demonic light flashed on his left hand and the arch palm burst out. Like a whirlwind, a palm covered Venerable Kumu and turned him into minced meat. Amidst the broken limbs, a treasure light flashed and a storage ring appeared in Xiao Han's sight. It was the storage ring that Venerable Kumu always wore. Hee. Xiao Han licked his lips and reached out to remove the storage ring. Then he dragged his injured body and disappeared into the dense forest in front of him. At night, hidden in the dense forest, there was a waterfall that was rarely visited by humans. This waterfall had a height of more than 10 meters and the flow of the water was not too rapid. The water flowed into a deep pool and made a rumbling sound. On the mountain wall behind the waterfall there was a natural cave. The cave was damp and dark, and the four walls were covered with glowing plants. In the misty light, a bare-chested youth could be seen sitting cross-legged on a stone platform. His eyes seemed to be thinking but not thinking. This youth's body could faintly be heard exploding sounds of dragons and tigers. As his internal organs squirmed, there was a smell of iron and steel. This youth, who else could it be but Xiao Han? Impressively, Xiao Han's half-opened eyelids opened and his eyes burst with light. The dark cave seemed to be illuminated by a bolt of lightning, causing the inside of the cave to become brightly lit. Immediately after, the cave became dark again. Only the glowing plants on the four walls emitted a faint light. After refining 80% of the medicinal power, I secretly circulated my mystic art and breathed in and out, causing my cultivation to soar. I directly broke through the bottleneck and reached the middle stage of the organ's refinement realm. As long as I completely refine the remaining 20% of the medicinal power in my internal organs, I will climb to the peak stage of the organ's refinement realm without any suspense. Xiao Han stood up from the platform and felt that he was full of energy. As he breathed, it was as if 10,000 horses were galloping with great momentum. Middle stage of the organ's refinement realm. Moreover, the effect of the nine-tailed sunflower flower was better than expected. Now Xiao Han's strength had reached 40 ding. It had more than doubled. As it turned out, after Xiao Han killed Venerable Kumu, he found a secluded place with his injuries. It was the cave behind the waterfall. Xiao Han entered the cave and activated his indestructible golden body to heal his injuries. At the same time, he used the special breathing method of the organ's refinement realm to absorb the medicinal power that was spreading in his internal organs. After a few hours, Xiao Han had completed his cultivation. Not only had his injuries healed, his cultivation had also leaped to the middle stage of the organ's refinement realm and he possessed 40 ding of strength. Once he completely refined the remaining medicinal power in his body, Xiao Han would reach the peak stage of the organ's refinement realm. His physical strength would rise steadily to at least 80 ding. Xiao Han smiled and opened his right hand to take a look. On Xiao Han's right index finger and middle finger, there was a simple and unadorned ring. Chapter 37. Xiao Han thought in his heart. As the sect master of a small sect, Venerable Kumu's entire life's fortune was probably in this storage ring. I'm going to make a fortune this time. Unexpectedly, when his mental power entered Venerable Kumu's storage ring, Xiao Han only saw a space of 2 feet square. One had to know that Hua Rong's storage ring contained a space of 5 feet square, while Venerable Kumu's storage ring had less than half of the space inside. A martial artist is indeed a martial artist, so poor, even the quality of his storage ring is so low. Xiao Han laughed involuntarily. In the next moment, Xiao Han carefully checked the items inside the storage ring. He saw a black cloak, an old tree bark, a bamboo scroll, and a lifeless withered wooden stump in the storage ring. This withered wooden stump was dead silent, emitting a withering aura. The wrinkles on the bark were dim, and the artistic conception was extremely bleak. Apart from that, there were only 1,000 true martial coins. There was nothing else. This Venerable Kumu is too poor and dejected. Xiao Han was speechless. He casually took out the bamboo scroll. With the dim light in the cave, Xiao Han saw that the bamboo scroll was filled with densely packed tiny words. After reading for a while, it turned out that the bamboo scroll recorded the situation of Withered Wood Sect. Withered Wood Sect was indeed a small sect in the Beacon Fire Empire. It had a history of around 2,000 years. Until now, it was still lacking in manpower with only a few hundred disciples. The founder of Withered Wood Sect was a true Qi realm expert, but it was short-lived. Among the younger generation there were no more true Qi realm experts. The previous sect masters were at most at the blood transformation realm. Moreover, as a small sect in the martial world they lacked resources. Even if they reached the blood transformation realm, they did not have enough resources to break through to the true Qi realm. This Withered Wood Sect was not declining, but it was just an unknown small sect. In front of a colossus like the Cloud Rain sect, it was simply like an ant. After putting the bamboo scroll back into the storage ring, Xiao Han took out the old tree bark. He took a look. Withered Wood Collection. It was actually a martial art manual. This is interesting. Xiao Han's interest was piqued as he studied the old tree bark with great interest. There were only 2 moves recorded in the Withered Tree Treasure record. Withered Wood Palm. Upon mastering this move, wood rings would appear on the center of one's palm and one would be able to experience the vicissitudes of life. With a palm strike, all living things withered and withered. The meridians and internal organs of those struck by the palm withered. Moreover, the middle part of the palm was bark-like, wrinkled and crisscrossed, and medicine could not cure it. Wooden Dragon Pillar. His entire body's strength transformed into a cylindrical pillar. It had the power to uproot mountains and fill up rivers. It was capable of sweeping away thousands of enemies with astonishing power. Moreover, this move carried a strong bleak concept. Withered leaves fluttered about, the autumn wind murderous, and it threw one's mind into chaos. In addition, to practice the 2 moves recorded in the Withered Wood Treasure record, one must visualize a piece of withered wood that had been passed down for generations in the Withered Wood Sect. In fact, Xiao Han had not only seen Venerable Deadwood use the Withered Wood Palm and the Wooden Dragon Stump, but he had also forcefully endured these 2 moves. Objectively speaking, these 2 moves were still very powerful. It was just that Venerable Deadwood's cultivation and strength were not up to par, so he was unable to display the true essence of these 2 moves. Suddenly, a thought flashed in Xiao Han's mind. My Son of Heaven's Divine Fist must be my trump card, a secret skill that cannot be easily used. I must cultivate another martial skill. Why don't I cultivate this Withered Tree Treasure record? As he thought of this, Xiao Han was eager to make a move. Alright. I'll immediately cultivate the Withered Wood Treasure record. Xiao Han easily made a decision. First, Xiao Han repeatedly read the Withered Wood Palm and Wooden Dragon Stump recorded on the old tree bark, the circulation route, and the force exertion technique of these 2 moves a few times until he could memorize them like the back of his hand. Subsequently, Xiao Han took out the Withered Wood Pillar that seemed like it was on the verge of death. This Withered Wood Pillar was very old, and it was unclear what tree it was cut from. It looked ordinary and lifeless, but it gave Xiao Han a very profound concept. To cultivate the 2 martial skills in the Withered Wood Treasure record, I must visualize this Withered Wood Pillar and thoroughly comprehend its charm. In fact, this is also a type of force in martial skills. Xiao Han sat cross-legged and placed the Withered Wood Pillar on his knees. His eyes were focused on his nose, and his nose was focused on his heart like an old monk in meditation. His soul force spread out, and he quickly entered a profound state where he forgot all about honor and disgrace. In terms of comprehending force, Xiao Han had extremely rich experience. After all, he had comprehended the Son of Heaven's force contained in the Son of Heaven's divine fist. There were 3,000 great Daos, but they all led to the same destination. The method of comprehending force in any martial skill was actually the same. In fact, to comprehend the force contained in this Withered Wood Pillar, there were traces that could be followed. After all, this Withered Wood Pillar was real and it was placed in front of Xiao Han. Compared to illusory force, it was much easier to comprehend. The successive sect leaders of the Withered Wood sect were not necessarily geniuses, and there was even no lack of people with mediocre aptitudes. However, they were always able to grasp the Withered Wood Pillar and comprehend the force contained within it. Everyone knew how to follow the diagram to seek the steed. Xiao Han carefully visualized and very quickly, his spirit formed a mysterious connection with the Withered Wood Pillar. He did not know whether it was because Xiao Han had comprehended the Emperor's force, which was even more difficult to comprehend, or because Xiao Han was a transmigrator, and his soul force was naturally stronger than ordinary people. In just half an hour, Xiao Han had already experienced the endless bleak and withering concept from this withered wood pillar. The frosty wind was chilly, and everywhere the red and green colors were fading. The mountains were covered with clouds, and looking back in the sky there was smoke everywhere. Outside the setting sun, there were thousands of jackdaws, and the water flowed around the lonely village. The autumn leaves fell and the north wind was cold. The road ahead was long and he was alone. Suddenly Xiao Han raised his right palm, and there was actually a faint wooden pattern on his palm. He struck out with his palm, and the autumn wind blew and the leaves rustled. Retract the palm. Strike again. Retract the palm, strike again. Every time he struck out, the concept in Xiao Han's palm technique would weaken a little. Cultivation knew no time. Xiao Han had completely forgotten about time. He kept repeating the movements of retracting and striking, and he did not know how many times he had repeated it. In the end, the wood rings appeared on Xiao Han's palm, and when his palm struck the air, there were faint tree bark wrinkles in the air. Xiao Han hugged the air and his energy surged, forming a wooden pillar covered with old tree bark. It was mottled and had an antique charm. As he waved, the wooden pillar exploded in the air, and everywhere it passed, everything withered and withered. Phew, Xiao Han exhaled, I have been cultivating for 2 days and 2 nights without sleep or rest. The 2 techniques recorded in the withered wood collection, the withered wood palm and the wooden dragon pillar, I have achieved initial success. In the future, I will often visualize this withered wood pillar, and my martial arts will become more and more profound. Xiao Han smiled with satisfaction. Shockingly. What? While visualizing this withered wood pillar, Xiao Han's mental energy was closely connected with it. After 2 days and 2 nights of cultivation, the connection between his mental energy and the withered wood pillar became more and more intimate. However, at this moment Xiao Han found that his mental energy had unknowingly penetrated into the withered wood pillar, and he actually found that there was something mysterious inside. Could it be that there is a hidden secret? Xiao Han was excited. He hesitated for a moment, and with a strike of his right palm, he actually split the withered wood pillar in half. With a loud bang, a wisp of green mist emerged from the decaying and withered wooden stump. Xiao Han focused his eyes and saw that within the withered wood pillar, there was actually a green sprout. An inexhaustible life force diffused from this green sprout. The entire cave was filled with the concept of spring, and all living things were coming back to life. Break and rebuild, the withered wood comes back to life. A majestic thought, like the morning bell and evening drum, resounded in Xiao Han's mind. Xiao Han's spirit was greatly shaken. Boom! Xiao Han struck out with his palm, and wooden patterns, growth rings and bark appeared on his palm. The air was filled with the rustling of leaves and it was cold and somber. However, the concept suddenly changed and it actually came back to life. Like a withered wood meeting spring, it regained its vitality. Bang! An explosion sounded in the air. Ha! I understand now. I finally understand now. This is the true meaning of the withered wood collection. The concept of the withered wood collection was not decay, but rebirth. In the instant that the old tree came back to life, it exploded with a terrifying vitality and power. This was the essence of the withered wood collection. They cultivated it wrongly. All the sect masters after withered wood sect's founding master cultivated it wrongly. Ah! No wonder after the founding master, withered wood sect never had a true chi realm cultivator appear again. So, none of them discovered the true secret of the withered wood collection and all went astray. Ah! At that moment, Xiao Han's thoughts were clear and he was incomparably carefree. He actually let out a long howl. The secret was hidden in this withered wood. He had to destroy the withered wood and rebuild it. However, this was a treasure passed down by withered wood sect's founding master. Which successive sect master would dare to damage it? They could not even wait to worship it. Damage? That was blasphemy. They did not even dare to think about it. It was no wonder that they could not discover the shocking secret hidden within. Oh, Cloud Rain sect's lad, you're indeed hiding here. Quickly come out and receive your death. Right then, a voice that was as calm as water but as arrogant as an emperor's sounded outside the cave. It was Shangguan Yi's voice. The cave that Xiao Han was hiding in was located behind a waterfall. The sound of water reverberated like thunder. For Shangguan Yi to be able to make such a calm voice pass through the waterfall and into the cave clearly, his skills were truly brilliant. Hee. Xiao Han's lips curled into a strange smile as killing intent bloomed in his eyes. He tossed the damaged wooden stump into his storage ring and strode out of the cave. Xiao Han leaped and his body tore through the waterfall, landing on the ground. At that moment the sun was shining brightly. Birds chirped and water trickled in the mountains. It was an indescribable picturesque scene. On the left side of Xiao Han, on a protruding rock, stood a short man. He looked at Xiao Han quietly, his eyes flashing with the ferocity and ruthlessness of a jackal, a tiger, or a leopard. From within his body, a wolf's howl could even be heard. This person was extremely savage and would easily pluck the hearts of others. He was the mountain wolf that would turn pale at the mention of his name. "Leave this kid's heart to me." The mountain wolf stuck out his tongue and licked his lower lip. He stared at Xiao Han's heart and swallowed. To the right of Xiao Han was a huge man that looked like an iron tower. His face was crisscrossed with knife scars. His energy transformed into a sea of blood above his head. Corpses and bones were piled up and his killing intent filled the air. The huge man crossed his arms and bared his teeth. "Kid, kneel down and kill yourself. You can avoid the pain before you die." In front of Xiao Han, Shangguan Yi wore a golden robe, a jade crown, a brocade belt and soft leather boots. He looked handsome and unrestrained. His hands were empty, but his eyes were filled with sword chi that cut through nothingness. He had chased after Xiao Han for several days and nights. At that moment he was still clean and spotless. His every movement was filled with nobility and arrogance. Behind Shangguan Yi were 4 beautiful girls. Their faces were tender and tender. They each held a sword, a huqin, a flute, and a guzheng. "Your Highness, you've finally found this servant." The sword-wielding girl presented the hilt of the sword to Shangguan Yi. "Your Highness, please kill this person." "There's no need to use a sword to kill him," Shangguan Yi said coldly. "He's not worthy." He. Surrounded by strong enemies, Xiao Han was not afraid. His spirit and aura rose steadily as he squinted his eyes. "This crouching bull mountain has beautiful scenery. The mountains are green, the water is clear, and the mist is boundless. However, there's a group of dogs barking here right now. It's a waste of resources and spoils the scenery." What did you say?" Shangguan Yi's expression changed. "I said you're all dogs," Xiao Han said sternly. "Want to kill me? One-on-one or group battle?" "One-on-one, I'll kill you one-on-one. Group battle, I'll kill you all together." "How dare you? You're still so stubborn when you're about to die? I'll break all the bones in your body first. Let's see if you can still be so stubborn." The scar-faced giant standing on the right side of Xiao Han roared in anger. His figure flashed and rushed forward. He struck with his right palm. His palm was blood red, and his chi force condensed into a blood palm print the size of a water tank. In an instant, the wind howled and the cries of the cuckoos and blood apes could be heard. It was a bleak scene. Blood evil palm print. Xiao Han's body was like stone or wood. He remained motionless. He raised his right palm, and the leaves on his palm withered and the annual rings appeared. Deadwood palm. Bang. Xiao Han and the scar-faced giant's palm met. However, when Xiao Han's deadwood palm was released, there was an explosion of vitality amidst the dead silence and withering. The artistic conception changed abruptly, and the withered tree came back to life. The scar-faced giant's blood evil palm print instantly collapsed and disintegrated into pieces. In the next moment, Xiao Han struck out with another palm strike, striking the center of the scar-faced giant's chest, causing him to fly out horizontally. The clothes on his chest were torn apart, revealing a wrinkled tree bark palm print. Then, bang! The explosive power of the withered tree came back to life, exploded in the scar-faced giant's body. All the bones in his body were broken and blood flowed out of his orifices. He fell to the ground and spasmed. "You're just a piece of trash. How dare you roar in front of me?" Xiao Han looked at the scar-faced giant lying on the ground and vomiting blood as if he was looking at an ant. Xiao Han thought, "I'm only at the middle stage of the viscera refining realm. Without using the Son of Heaven's divine fist and the demon the arch palm, I can easily defeat this famous martial artist. If I reach the peak of the viscera refining realm, my strength will double." Chapter 38. What? This is old man Gumu's withered wood palm? No, it looks like it's real. The power of the withered wood palm is definitely not this tyrannical. What kind of martial skill is this? The calm and unruffled mountain wolf's expression suddenly changed as he looked at Xiao Han in horror. After not seeing Xiao Han for a few days, not only did his old injuries heal, his cultivation had also improved greatly. "It's nothing." Shangguan Yi only slightly frowned and immediately maintained his arrogant appearance. His eyes were filled with killing intent as he spoke indifferently. It's just a martial skill of a rogue cultivator of the Jianghu. It's unorthodox and not orthodox. Brat, you're merely at the viscera refinement realm. No matter what martial skill you cultivate, you're still trash. Ha! Xiao Han was unmoved and faintly smiled. I will personally shatter all your sense of superiority. As he spoke, Xiao Han slightly took a step forward. Above his head, strength spiraled. The autumn wind rustled and there were withered leaves falling. However, the intent was not old and contained vitality. Crown Prince, let's attack together. This brat is very strange. The mountain wolf said sternly. This Crown Prince has dignity. How can I be willing to join hands with a Jianghu ruffian like you to deal with a mere viscera refinement realm martial artist? Shengguani said arrogantly. Damn it. The mountain wolf cursed. Immediately after, he raised his aura. A wolf's howl came from his body. As he waved his hands, there was a series of afterimages. The strength transformed into 2 wolf claws that flickered with dim light and filled the sky with ferocity. In the next moment, swish, the mountain wolf's movement technique was as fast as lightning. In the air there was a series of afterimages. In a breath's time, he had already swept in front of Xiao Han. His claws were swift and fierce as he suddenly clawed at Xiao Han's heart. Above his head, the strength condensed into a wolf's head. It stretched its neck and howled with a miserable wind. Mountain wolf claw. Xiao Han did not dodge at all. His right palm was covered with a layer of withered tree bark. His growth rings bloomed as he struck out with his palm. It was actually a technique to perish together with his opponent. Ha ha ha. In a flash, the mountain wolf laughed fiercely. How childish. This daddy's claws can tear gold and crack jade. I can cut a person's heart like picking up grass. I'll risk taking a palm from you. I want to see if it's you or I who dies. The wolf of Mount Qi was also a ferocious person. He did not change his attack and was confident that if he were to exchange blows with Xiao Han, he would be the one who would be injured, while Xiao Han would be disemboweled and die on the spot. The Qi Mountain ravenous wolf's Qi transformed into a wolf's claw and directly grabbed onto the smooth skin on Xiao Han's chest. Bang! Xiao Han's withered wood palm landed on Mountain Wolf's chest. The next moment, retreat. Both of them retreated at the same time. Time seemed to have stopped. After each of them took 5 steps back, they stopped moving and remained motionless. There were 2 claw marks on the skin where Xiao Han's heart was. They were about an inch deep and dripping with blood. The clothes on the chest of the mountain wolf were torn to shreds. His heart was covered with a layer of wrinkled, withered tree bark palm print. However, on this palm print, one could vaguely see green surging and dense vitality. What, actually didn't cut open your tendons, skin, bones, and flesh to take your heart? This daddy's foolproof move, why, kid you. The wolf of Mount Qi's eyes were dazed and he was extremely confused. Just now, he had gathered all of his strength and wanted to take Xiao Han's heart. Unexpectedly, when his claws touched Xiao Han's skin, he felt that Xiao Han's skin was as soft as a sponge. Under the skin there was an abundant flow of heat. It actually forcefully absorbed half of the strength of his claws, causing his claws to be unable to dig out Xiao Han's heart and liver. It only left a few wounds on Xiao Han's skin. Shockingly. Bang. Xiao Han's withered wood palm suddenly exploded on the wolf of Mount Qi's body. Good body refinement technique. The wolf of Mount Qi's knees went soft and he immediately knelt on the ground. Pooh! He spat out a mouthful of blood. His body swayed a few times and finally fell to the ground. Hiss! Xiao Han frowned in pain. However, at this moment, the 9-tailed sunflower's medicinal power that had settled in his body was dispersed by another 10%. It was enshrouded in his internal organs. Just 10% more medicinal power and I can climb to the peak of the viscera refinement realm. Xiao Han licked his lips and looked at Shengguani. Clap, clap. Shengguani clapped his hands a few times. Indeed, it is a very brilliant body refinement technique. To think that my Mingjian villa is famous for its sword techniques. Body refinement type martial arts techniques are very rare. Brat, in your hands, this body refinement technique is like casting pearls before swine. It is a kind of disgrace. However, if this crown prince obtains this body refinement technique, then it will bring out the best in each other. After a pause, Shengguani slightly narrowed his eyes and his face was full of joy. If this crown prince cultivates this body refinement technique, I will definitely stand out among the tens of thousands of outer sect disciples of Mingjian Villa. Very good. If you want to obtain this young master's body refinement technique, then it will depend on whether you have the ability or not. However, I don't think you have. Instead, you will lose your life. Xiao Han lightly laughed. He knew that this first-rate outer sect disciple from Mingjian Villa was a formidable opponent. He could not be mentioned in the same breath as all the Jianghu people he had killed before. However, Xiaohan also knew that only by continuously defeating people of this level could he further sharpen his spirit and cause his state of mind to transform. Xiaohan condensed his spirit and the blood vessels, tendons, bones and internal organs in his body surged. Like a crouching tiger or a coiling dragon, he slowly approached Shangguan. It seems that you still haven't given up and still want to fight with this crown prince. Good, today I will let you see how big the gap is between a genius and an ordinary person. Suddenly, the sword qi around Shangguan Yi's body whistled out. Wind, thunder, earth and fire all surged together. The invisible sword qi cut the surrounding dense forest with a rustling sound. The fallen leaves rustled and floated down. However, before they fell to the ground, they were divided by the sword qi into two, then two into four. Shangguan Yi did not draw his sword, but his aura had already risen to a kind of fierce and stern realm. As expected, he was an outstanding person who had been cultivated by a large sect. Compared to a rogue cultivator of the Jianghu, they were two completely different concepts. The four girls retreated one after another. You killed that rogue cultivator of the Jianghu and are injured. This crown prince does not want to take advantage of you. I will let you have 3 moves first. Shangguan Yi said proudly. After 3 moves, you will die without a doubt. You talk too much nonsense. Xiaohan's body shot out explosively. The tendons and bones in his body sounded together, and his internal organs squirmed. All the bones in his body exploded together. Bam! Heaven was enraged. This bone explosion style caused Xiaohan's aura to climb to its peak in an instant. He struck out with both palms, and the air was filled with wrinkles of tree bark interweaving with green. It was a boundless artistic conception. Swoosh, Shangguan Yi said calmly with his hands behind his back. His sword flashed and dodged Xiaohan's palm strike. 1 move. Xiaohan did not say a word. He hugged the air with both hands and very quickly, a withered wooden stake was formed. It was about 8 feet long, covered in withered bark, and spat out fragrant green sprouts. Wooden dragon stake. Xiaohan raised the illusory wooden stake and hammered at Shangguan Yi. Bam! 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 The air was smashed until it exploded. Under the bombardment of this wooden dragon stake, the surrounding artistic conception was shrouded by a kind of withered leaves rustling and withered wood coming back to life. Shangguan Yi could no longer walk leisurely in the courtyard. Bam! Shangguan Yi dodged in a fluster. The place where he had been standing had already cracked from the impact. This move is a little interesting. However, your cultivation is too low and your strength is too weak. It's nothing to worry about, Shangguan Yi said harshly. However, he finally did not dare to be careless anymore, nor did he abide by the boast of letting Xiaohan have 3 moves first. Mingjian Villa's 10 Great Sword Arts. Starry Sky Sword Art. Shangguan Yi put his right index and middle fingers together. The sword whistled like a dragon and a sword aura swept out. This sword aura was different from the sword aura that Shangguan Yi had casually slashed at Xiaohan when he was stealing the 9-tailed sunflower flower. This sword aura contained the vast starry sky concept. As the sword light flashed, stars dotted the sky. The sword aura was threatening and the clouds moved in all directions. Pfft. This sword aura cut the wooden dragon stake that Xiaohan was hugging into 2. The power of this sword aura is still a notch lower than the power of Huarong's hand blade. However, the artistic conception contained in the sword aura is very powerful. Xiaohan evaluated in a split second. Xiaohan did not panic at all when the wooden dragon stake was broken. Alright, it's over. You have 2 storage rings on you. I believe your body tempering technique is stored in them? Kid, this crown prince will send you to hell. The sword aura around Shangguan Yi flourished. His left and right hands formed sword seals, and star sand flowed between his fingers. Starry Sky Sword Art. In a split second, Shangguan Yi slashed out 8 sword auras in one go, and all of them landed on Xiaohan's body. Bam! Xiaohan was thrown far away. Shangguan Yi smiled proudly with his hands behind his back. A mere ant. Killing him is like blowing dust. Your Highness, your sword art is out of this world and unparalleled. How could this servant be your opponent? He's not even fit to carry your shoes. A few girls walked over happily. Alright, we have already wasted a few days in this barren mountain. Let's take that kid's storage ring, get the body tempering technique, and return to the 10,000 Swords Mountain Villa. With this body tempering technique, this crown prince can truly be considered to be outstanding. In the outer sect, those guys who pressured this crown prince will all be trampled by this crown prince. Shangguan was in high spirits and was about to walk towards Xiao Han. Suddenly, a huge wave of vitality rushed out from the place where Xiao Han fell. The strong grass was suppressed and stuck to the ground, whining. In the next moment Xiao Han stood up. Xiao Han's naked upper body was full of sword wounds, and his flesh was badly mutilated. However, at this moment Xiao Han's eyes were filled with brilliance, full of vitality. As his skin moved, there was actually a buzzing sound of metal exploding. His internal organs were squirming, and he had the aura of a towering mountain. Brr! Xiao Han let out a long roar. It was as if there was a savage beast hibernating in his body, galloping and roaring. The nine-tailed sunflower's medicinal power in his body had finally been completely refined. With enough accumulation, Xiao Han directly broke through the barrier with just a slight breath, and his cultivation level soared to the peak of the viscera refinement realm. Although Xiao Han's cultivation level was still not stable, his strength had already soared to 80 cauldrons. That was double of the original amount. Your Highness, it is still unknown who will be the winner. Xiao Han moved his body and walked toward Shangguan. He hugged the air with both hands and his strength swept out, quickly condensing into a withered wooden stake with green buds. It was 5 feet tall. Xiao Han's aura surged. This monster. For the first time Shangguan was moved. He immediately stretched out his hand. Ju'er, give me the sword. The girl holding the treasure sword did not dare to be negligent. She straightened her sword and handed the hilt to Shangguan. Clang. Shangguan drew his sword. With a long sword as bright as autumn water in his hand, Shangguan's aura condensed again. The peerless sharpness of a swordsman was finally revealed. At this moment he was like a peerless swordsman standing on a lonely peak. He drew his sword and looked around blankly, unable to find his opponent. Xiao Han hugged the wooden stake and stomped on the ground like a giant elephant, crushing toward Shangguan. Shangguan did not move. His aura was as if he was invincible with a sword in his hand. 50 steps, 30 steps, 20 steps, 10 steps. Wooden dragon stake. Xiao Han rose from the ground, and the wooden dragon stake in his hand whizzed forward with an earth-shattering momentum. In all directions, the withered tree bark wrinkled and green buds dotted the area. The artistic conception was boundless. Insignificant skill. How can a firefly's light compete with the sun and moon's brilliance? Shangguan slashed with his sword. The vast starry sky was filled with sword chi, and it was like an eagle soaring through the sky. The artistic conception created by the wooden dragon stake was completely destroyed by this sword. The 5 feet withered wooden stake that Xiao Han was hugging collapsed inch by inch. However, at this moment Xiao Han's lips curled into an almost imperceptible sneer. Xiao Han raised his hands, and the fragments of the wooden dragon stake danced in the air. Immediately Xiao Han's aura changed drastically. From the artistic conception of a withered tree to the Emperor's aura. The Emperor's majesty. Appearing out of nowhere. Killing the common people like slaughtering pigs and dogs. At this moment Xiao Han's eyes were like the Emperor's, like an emperor's, like a demon god. Using his aura to suppress others. Sovereign's descent. Xiao Han's ultimate technique was suddenly unleashed. In an instant Xiao Han's strength doubled and Shangguan's strength, sword chi and sword aura were halved. In reality, although Xiao Han had dispersed all the medicinal effects in his body and advanced to the peak of viscera refinement, he was also heavily injured. Thus he wanted to kill Shangguan. He had to catch him off guard and use his ultimate technique. If he could not kill Shangguan swiftly and decisively, Xiao Han would definitely be affected by his injuries and fall into a dangerous situation. The wooden dragon stake earlier was just a feint. The real killer move was this sovereign's descent. Xiao Han's sudden change of technique and momentum caught Shangguan off guard. Shangguan's long hair was blown into a mess by the wind from the fist. His eyes were filled with fear and his face was ferocious. Brat, I didn't expect you to still have a hidden ultimate technique. How shrewd. Shangguan was indeed a disciple cultivated by a great sect. Even in a disadvantageous situation, he was still able to counterattack at the first moment. He suddenly thrust his long sword forward, gathering all his remaining strength to attack Xiao Han. However, under the interference of the sovereign's descent, Shangguan's sword chi was already dulled, and only half of it remained. Buzz. The fierce wind from the sovereign's descent caused the long sword in Shangguan's hand to let out a wail and suddenly bend like a bow. In the next moment, clang. The long sword broke. Bang! The remaining strength of Xiao Han's punch landed on Shangguan Yi's chest. Shangguan Yi vomited blood and retreated. However, he laughed savagely. Is that all you have? You can't kill this crown prince. Also, if you don't stop now, there will be endless troubles in the future. This crown prince is an outer sect disciple nurtured by Mingjian Villa. Suddenly, Xiao Han's left arm flashed with demonic light, and demonic chi swept out. The demon Thearka's arm grabbed with lightning speed. PFFF. Shangguan Yi's chest was clawed open with a big transparent hole. His bones and flesh turned into powder, and his internal organs became dregs. In the next moment, everything returned to normal. Xiao Han withdrew his demon Thearka's palm as if it had never appeared. Leaves rustled. Xiao Han stood with his hands behind his back while Shangguan Yi knelt on the ground. He looked at the big hole in his chest in confusion and then looked at Xiao Han. You actually dared to kill this crown prince? Mingjian Villa will be irreconcilable with you from now on. I will chase you to the ends of the earth. Demon race. Demon races means. I didn't expect you to still have it hidden. Alright, Your Highness, you can go in peace. Many thanks to Your Highness for helping this little brother to successfully advance to the peak of the Viscera refinement realm. Xiao Han grinned and didn't look at Shangguan Yi again. He took a step forward and walked towards the four girls. Bang! Shangguan Yi fell to the ground with a loud bang. P.S. Brothers, can you give me the recommendation tickets? Chapter 39. This was more valuable than killing an ordinary Jianghu person. It was another indescribable tempering for Xiao Han's spirit. After killing Shangguan Yi, Xiao Han walked towards his four maidservants step by step. The leaves above Xiao Han's head were rustling, the autumn wind was chilly, and the concept of all things withering shrouded the area. Once the demon god palm was out, no one would be left alive. Moreover, killing a disciple of Mingjian Villa was not a small matter. If the news was leaked, Xiao Han would have to bear the consequences. Crown Prince. His Highness the Crown Prince was killed by this servant. The four maidservants were scared out of their wits. No, impossible. His Highness the Crown Prince is a dragon among men. How could he die in the hands of a lowly dog like you? One of the maidservants screamed as if she had gone mad. Sisters, take revenge for His Highness the Crown Prince. Kill this bastard. Another maidservant took out a dagger from her bosom and directly stabbed towards Xiao Han with a murderous aura. Poof! Xiao Han struck with his left palm. The growth rings appeared on his palm. With a move of the deadwood palm, the arrogant maidservant was instantly killed. Since he had decided to silence them, Xiao Han would not be merciful. He would not bury his future in life just because his opponent was a few women. Moreover, how could the personal maidservants of Shangguan Yi be good people? No. The other maidservant, Ji Chong, turned her right hand and also held a dagger. However, she did not rush towards Xiao Han. Instead, she stabbed herself in the heart. Blood spurted out from her mouth and she committed suicide. Only two maidservants were left. Young master, please don't kill this servant. Suddenly, one of the maidservants looked at Xiao Han coquettishly and said with a blushing face. Who is Shangguan Yi? He is not even fit to carry shoes for young master. He deserves to die. Young master, this servant was forced to follow Shangguan Yi. After so many years I have suffered so much. Young master, please take pity on this servant. The other maidservant also threw flirtatious glances at Xiao Han and said coquettishly. Young master, from today onwards, we two sisters will serve by your side as servants and concubines. At this moment, suddenly, the two maidservants drew out their daggers at the same time. Their eyes were filled with ferocity as they stabbed towards Xiao Han from the left and right. Gale Cut's face. Bang, bang. Xiao Han attacked later but arrived first. Under the withered tree palm, an ordinary bone tempering maid like her could only die. Phew! After killing the last two maids, Xiao Han finally collapsed. He lay on the ground, breathing in and out, pushing the indestructible golden body to its limits to heal his wounded body. Several hours later, Xiao Han slowly crawled up from the ground, stretched his muscles, and then began to search the corpses on the ground. However, Xiao Han was not so lucky this time. Not only did he not find anything valuable from the corpses of the two Jianghu people, even Shangguan Yi and his four maidservants did not carry any treasures like storage rings. Xiao Han cursed under his breath. At this moment, a wave of hunger engulfed Xiao Han. Only then did Xiao Han realize that he had been running for his life for the past few days and had not eaten a single grain of rice. Now that he had relaxed his mind, He felt his stomach rumbling with hunger, and he was suffering unspeakably. Xiao Han caught more than a dozen fat fish from the pool, lit a fire and casually roasted them. Not long after, the tender and juicy fish meat was sent into Xiao Han's mouth, rewarding his 5 viscera temple. After eating his fill, Xiao Han jumped into the pool and took a bath, thoroughly washing away the blood stains on his body. He felt even more refreshed. The medicinal power of the 9-tailed sunflower grass has been completely refined. I have also successfully advanced to the peak of the viscera refinement realm. My strength has reached 80 cauldrons, which is no small matter. Moreover, after the battle in Crouching Bull Mountain, I have accumulated a wealth of combat experience, and my spirit has been transformed. Now, among the physical body realm martial artists, I, Xiao Han, am also a small expert. When I return to the sect, I, Xiao Han, can also hold my head high in the outer sect's 10 peaks. I am no longer a coward. Xiao Han's brows relaxed. I have benefited a lot from this experience. I have cultivated the Dead Tree Collection, perfected the indestructible golden body and the follow-up cultivation technique of the Son of Heaven's divine fist, and even refined the demon god's palm, thinking of how half a year ago, he had been nothing more than a live target that could be slaughtered by anyone. But now he possessed extraordinary combat power. He could even kill ordinary blood transformation cultivators. Xiao Han felt as if he had been in a different world. Life's fate was truly unpredictable. However, this little bit of cultivation of mine is nothing much. Sooner or later, I have to reach the true Qi realm to truly stand out. Xiao Han was not arrogant. Let's return to the sect now. That bastard Yang Lei is still waiting for me to beat him up. Who would have thought that I will be the one beating him up now? He will never be able to win against me. Ah. I might not even be afraid of that Ling Feiyu and Meng Ran. As for Xue Jianfeng, I will kill him one day. Xiao Han immediately prepared to set off and return to the Cloud Rain sect. However, at this moment, Xiao Han's robe had been torn to shreds. Hurrying on the road like this was a little out of place and it would spoil the mood. After thinking for a while, Xiao Han slapped his forehead and used his mental strength to enter the storage ring of Venerable Deadwood. There was a black cloak in Venerable Deadwood's storage ring. It could be used to cover the body. Xiao Han took out the black cloak and covered his body. In an instant, Xiao Han changed his appearance. His entire body was wrapped tightly in a cloak, and even his face was covered with a piece of black cloth. Only a pair of eyes could be seen darting about outside. Good, very good. I have killed many people in this Crouching Bull Mountain. Even the outer sect disciples of Mingjian Villa died in my hands. This black cloak is quite suitable for the scene at this moment. It's great to cover my tracks like this. Xiao Han had a thought and deliberately released a trace of the Dead Tree Intent realm from his body. In an instant, his entire body emitted a faint aura of lethargy and decay. After packing up properly, Xiao Han strode out of Crouching Bull Mountain. It was afternoon when he returned to Crouching Bull Town. Xiao Han walked around and came to a market in the town. He heard someone selling horses and livestock. Xiao Han walked over in a few steps. Hey old man, are you buying a horse or a cow? The livestock peddler immediately greeted him attentively. Old man? Xiao Han was stunned and immediately reacted. He was now wrapped like a dumpling and did not show his face. His aura was also very old. No wonder people thought he was an old man. Xiao Han was a young man after all. He found it fun and purposely squeezed his vocal cords, speaking in a hoarse and deep voice. Young man, this old man wants a green buckskin horse with the best legs. All right. The peddler picked a tall buckskin horse with 4 strong hooves for Xiao Han. Xiao Han's storage ring contained a large amount of gold, silver, jade and gemstones. He did not bargain and took out a silver ingot and threw it to the peddler. Hence, Xiao Han donned his cloak and rode his buckskin horse, galloping out of Crouching Bull Town. He flew towards the direction of Cloud Rain sect. The horse neighed and the wind whistled. Xiao Han was alone at the moment and he was very happy. Moreover, he was eager to return to the sect. However, the buckskin horse could only travel a few hundred miles in a day. It could not be compared to a flood dragon horse. Xiao Han estimated that it would take 7 or 8 days for him to return to the sect, even if he was tired from the journey. If only I had a flood dragon horse. Xiao Han thought to himself. However, flood dragon horses could only be reared and driven by large sections. It was impossible to buy one in the secular world no matter how much money one spent. After galloping for a few hours, the sky gradually turned dark. A town appeared in front of him and Xiao Han rode his horse into it. After entering the town, Xiao Han dismounted and led the horse. He looked around as he walked, preparing to find a tavern to have a meal. This town was very prosperous. There were people bustling about and there were many trades. There were gold, silver, silk, and all kinds of rare treasures in the secular world. The streets and alleys were filled with shops of all sizes and even doors. There were no empty houses. There was a river outside the town. When the lanterns were first lit, one could vaguely see painted boats. Scholars were reciting poems and beauties were rowing boats. The faint fragrance of cosmetics drifted along the river, causing one's soul to soften. This town is really luxurious. It seems that the natives of this town live a rich life. Xiao Han thought to himself. However, all of this is built on the premise that there is no invasion from the demon race. Once the demon race enters this town and disguises themselves as humans, disaster will come. All the pleasure will become an illusion. Xiao Han knew how terrifying the demon race was. Even though this town was bustling with people and carriages, a single rogue demon could possibly destroy the town. Xiao Han could not help but press on his chest when he thought of the demon race. The strange thing in his heart was quiet and peaceful. There was nothing strange about it. It seems that this town is the same as Crouching Bull Town. It is a paradise. There are no demons here. Xiao Han nodded slightly. At this moment, clip-clop, 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 the sound of horse hooves could be heard from behind. Moreover, the sound of horse hooves was not made by ordinary buckskin horses. Flood horses. Xiao Han's heart skipped a beat. He could not help but turn around to look. Shockingly, 2 gusts of wind swept past Xiao Han's body like lightning. They were the 2 flood horses. In the twilight, Xiao Han could clearly see that they were undoubtedly flood horses. The passengers on the horses were slim and graceful. One was wearing a red shirt while the other was wearing a white shirt. They seemed to be 2 young girls. Wow! What kind of horse is this? It's a divine steed. It's not an ordinary horse. I think it's some kind of immortal horse. Aha, you don't know, do you? This horse is a flood horse raised by a large sect. It can easily travel thousands of miles in a day. It's hard to buy it with money. It's not an exaggeration to say that it's an immortal horse. So it's a disciple from a large sect riding a flood horse to our Jin town. Could it be that there are demons in our town? Otherwise, why would a disciple from a large sect come to our town? Bah. Nonsense. If you talk nonsense again, I'll beat you to death. What demon race? Our town hasn't been attacked by demons for more than 100 years. The disciple from a large sect might just be passing through our town. Yes. I'm brainless. I'm just talking nonsense. There's no demon race, there's no demon race. Alright, there are 2 girls on the flood horse. Did you guys see them? TSK, they're as beautiful as fairies. The natives who were standing around Xiao Han stopped in their tracks and began to discuss. Flood horse? Damn it. I was just worrying that the horses in the secular world are too slow. I can't believe I've bumped into 2 flood horses. If it's convenient, I'd like to borrow one of the flood horses to ride. With the flood horse, I can travel through the night and return to Cloud Rain Sect by noon tomorrow. It'll save me a few days. Xiao Han's heart was moved. He actually had the idea of stealing the horses. Looking up at the end of the long street in front of a large restaurant, the 2 girls dismounted their horses. Their movements were very vigorous, and they handed the flood dragon horses to the waiter who came out to welcome them. Soon after, they entered the restaurant one after the other. There's a chance. Xiao Han quickly led the azure buckskin horse and walked towards the end of the long street. When he got closer, Xiao Han raised his head and saw a 3-story restaurant. The building was made of wood and had an antique feel. There were 3 big red lanterns with the words Drunken Immortal Restaurant. Are you having your dinner, old man? Please come in, please come in. I don't think you're from this town, right? Old man, I'll be honest. Our Drunken Immortal Restaurant is the most famous and authentic restaurant in Jin Town. A waiter with a squarish face ran out and bowed to serve Xiao Han. Xiao Han said with a hoarse voice. Not bad, not bad. Waiter, did 2 girls go in just now? One is wearing a white shirt and the other is wearing a red shirt. The waiter glanced at Xiao Han from the corner of his eyes. He saw that the person in front of him was wearing a black cloak and his face was completely covered. He looked very strange. Moreover, the first thing he asked was a girl. This old bastard. Old man, are you having your meal or what? The waiter didn't answer and only glanced at Xiao Han. Xiao Han immediately took out a silver ingot and stuffed it into the waiter's hands. Yo. The waiter immediately beamed with joy and bowed even lower. His face was completely filled with flattery. Yes, old man. Those 2 girls are very beautiful. Go up to the third floor and sit by the window. But the waiter lowered his voice and said, Old man, you have to take it easy. Those two girls are from a big sect. What kind of horses are they riding? You must not act rashly. Otherwise, if something goes wrong, it won't be easy to clean up. Oh, this old man is just asking casually. This old man is already so old. Even if I want to act rashly, I don't have the strength to. Xiao Han calmly handed over the green buckskin horse to the waiter. This old man is also a horse. Serve it carefully. Understood, understood. This little one will personally bring it to the stable and serve it with good fodder. The waiter said in a flattering manner. And there must be no mishaps. This horse is very precious. Where's the stable? Xiao Han asked. It's in the backyard. Just go around it. The waiter took the reins and pulled the green buckskin horse towards the backyard. Horse, oh horse, you're lucky. Staying with a horse, you must have accumulated good fortune from your previous life. Hee, I'll go up and take a look first. Xiao Han rolled his eyes and directly went up to the restaurant. Even if he wanted to steal a horse, he couldn't just steal it. He had to see who the other party was. It was better to be safe than sorry. Xiao Han went up to the third floor. As soon as he came out of the wooden stairs, Xiao Han's eyes lit up. He saw two young girls sitting by the window. One was wearing a red robe and the other was wearing a white robe. They were the two riding the flood dragon horses. Judging from their auras, they were both at the marrow refinement realm. Moreover, their auras were pure, clear and powerful. It was not something ordinary Jianghu cultivators could compare to. At this time, the two girls were talking in low voices. The one in the red robe was sitting sideways while the one in the white robe had her back facing Xiao Han. The girl in the red robe was about 16 or 17 years old. She had an oval face with two dimples. Her eyebrows were curved and her eyes were like limpid autumn waters. She had an innocent and mischievous expression. Her skin was whiter than snow and her appearance was extremely beautiful. Her clothes were not very luxurious. There was only a string of pearls around her neck that emitted a faint halo. It made her look like a jade carving. It was truly the charm of pearls and the luster of jade. Between her brows, there was a bit of scholarly elegance and a bit of valiance. The girl in white had her back facing Xiao Han, so he couldn't see her face. However, just looking at her back made people feel that she was out of this world, like a fairy descending to the mortal world. She was tall and slender. Her fine black hair cascaded down her back like a waterfall and was casually tied with a silver ribbon. In the candlelight of the restaurant, her body seemed to be shrouded in mist. Her temperament was extremely elegant. So beautiful, really beautiful. Xiao Han felt his mouth go dry. In the next moment, Xiao Han suddenly realized that every diner on this floor had their eyes fixed on the two girls. They had completely forgotten what they were doing. Old master, you're having a meal? A waiter looked at the two girls as he walked over and asked Xiao Han. Yes. Xiao Han nodded and immediately found an empty seat to sit down. He casually ordered a few dishes. A pot of wine. Xiao Han's attention was completely focused on the two girls on the other side. At this moment, the two girls were talking in low voices. The restaurant was very noisy. The sound of people pushing cups and passing cups could be heard everywhere in the restaurant. An ordinary person would not be able to hear what the two girls were talking about. However, Xiao Han's body was strong and his five senses were sensitive. He deliberately eavesdropped and actually heard their conversation. Chapter 40. First, the girl in red said in a low voice. Senior Sister Shirong, how long do we have to wait in this town? This time when we came out from Medicine King Valley, Senior Brother Mo brought us to train. Training is a good thing and I like it very much. However, I think Senior Brother Mo is a polite person on the surface, but he is not a good person in secret. The girl in red's voice was as clear and melodious as an oriole. Moreover, the speed of his speech was extremely fast. Pearls splashed on the jade plate, vaguely revealing his active nature. Medicine King Valley? Xiao Han's heart moved. So, these two girls are disciples of Medicine King Valley. No wonder they can ride a dragon horse and roam the Jianghu. Shirong? The girl in white is called Shirong? This name is gentle and nice. I wonder what the girl in red is called. Who is Senior Brother Mo? Medicine King Valley was one of the 5 major sects of Beacon Fire Empire. It could compete with Cloud Rain Sect, Mingjian Villa, 8 Void Hall and Blazing Flame Sect. Xiao Han had read books and knew that the disciples of Medicine King Valley were proficient in the art of picking herbs and refining pills. The importance of elixirs to martial artists was self-evident. As long as there were enough pills, a martial artist with average aptitude could have a smooth journey in cultivation, continuously breaking through barriers and improving at lightning speed. Therefore, Medicine King Valley was famous in Beacon Fire Empire, and even the imperial family treated them with respect. The other sects all fawned on them. There was a saying in the Jianghu that all disciples from Medicine King Valley were fragrant steamed buns. Any martial artist in Beacon Fire Empire would be complacent and proud to have a disciple from Medicine King Valley as a friend. When Medicine King Valley disciples roamed the Jianghu, other martial artists couldn't help but call out in their hearts, "Tycoon, let's be friends." Even if they could become husband and wife with a disciple of Medicine King Valley, it would be the most honorable thing. Others would be envious. Unmarried male disciples of Medicine King Valley, no matter handsome or ugly, would be favored by the most outstanding female martial artists in the entire empire and even fought over. Unmarried female disciples of Medicine King Valley were even more extraordinary. The most outstanding men in the world would draw their swords and fight over them, even if they only had the appearance of a willow. As for the two before him, they were both from the Valley of the Medicine Masters and were as beautiful as fairies, elegant and refined. Tsk, they were truly treasures. Yinshue, don't talk nonsense. Senior apprentice Brother Mo is one of our Medicine King Valley's most outstanding outer sect disciples. He's at the blood transformation realm and he can refine secret medicines. He's a top talent. He did not lose to the prodigies of the other sects at all. Yinshue, you're gossiping behind Senior Brother Mo's back. Be careful that I don't beat you up. Just as Xiao Han was lost in his reverie, a clear and elegant female voice caused his mind to jolt. Once again he turned his attention to the two young ladies. This time it was the white-clothed girl who spoke. The white-clothed girl's voice was completely different from the red-clothed girl's. If the red-clothed girl was mischievous and lively, then the white-clothed girl was elegant and quiet. Senior Sister Shirong, I didn't speak irresponsibly. Senior Martial Brother Mo is just deceiving the world. Let me tell you a secret. Don't tell anyone else. Previously, when Junior Martial Sister K, and the others were bathing in the Jade Pool, didn't they discover that someone was peeping on them? I happened to pass by. Guess who was the one who peeked? It was Senior Martial Brother Mo. The red-clothed girl whispered. It can't be, right? That matter was done by Senior Martial Brother Mo? The white-clothed girl cried out involuntarily. Yinshue, are you sure? You must not speak irresponsibly about this matter. Senior Sister Shirong. Why don't you believe Yinshue? It was obviously Senior Martial Brother Mo. I saw it clearly. It's just that he didn't see me. This matter is not a small matter. I have always kept it in my heart. Other than Senior Martial Sister Shirong, I didn't tell anyone else. Alright, Yinshue. Don't mention this matter anymore. Just pretend that you didn't see anything. Senior Martial Brother Mo is highly regarded by a few elders. Furthermore, he might become the son-in-law of the Beacon Fire Empire. He is destined to be a big shot in the future and we can't afford to offend him. Don't mention this matter again. The white-clothed girl spoke in a very steady manner. She considered the matter thoroughly and meticulously without any loopholes. I certainly won't tell anyone about this matter. It's just that I can't stand Senior Martial Brother Mo's face. He's so sanctimonious. Senior Martial Sister Shirong, don't pretend to be ignorant. Every time Senior Martial Brother Mo looks at you, his eyes are emitting green light as if he wants to eat you up. I don't even understand why the elders would send Senior Martial Brother Mo to preside over our experiential learning. Could it be that Senior Martial Brother Mo deliberately arranged it? So scary. Yinshue, you're thinking too much. Isn't it better to spend all this effort on concocting pills and practicing martial arts? Even if Senior Martial Brother Mo is really as unbearable and sanctimonious as you said, he won't do anything to us. Alright, Senior Martial Brother Mo will meet us in this small town tonight. After that, we will be brought by him to the nearby small town where the demon race is roaming. If everything goes smoothly, we will return to the Medicine King Valley in 3 to 5 days. From then on, we won't have any interaction with Senior Martial Brother Mo anymore. After listening for a while, Xiao Han finally understood. It turned out that these two girls were the same as him. They were out for experiential learning. They were led by a disciple with strong combat strength and experience in killing demons. They watched the process of killing the demon race with their own eyes, tempering their spirit and sharpening their courage. However, from their conversation, they said that this Senior Martial Brother Mo, who brought them for experiential learning, was a man with a human face but a beast's heart. He was a filthy and despicable guy who seemed to have peeped at the female disciples of the Medicine King Valley bathing. Following that, the two girls talked about some private matters, and Xiao Han was too embarrassed to continue eavesdropping. He turned to the delicacies on the table. When Xiao Han ate, he did not remove the black cloth covering his face. Instead, he lifted the black cloth slightly from his chin and ate slowly. It was very strange. After eating, Xiao Han saw that the two girls were still lingering at the table, looking out of the window from time to time. It was obvious that they were waiting for someone. Good. You guys go experiential learning and kill demons. I'll borrow the horse. Let's do our own things. Xiao Han stood up without batting an eyelid. After paying the bill, he went downstairs. Although these two girls were extremely beautiful and came from the Medicine King Valley, Xiao Han had no interest in accepting them. He wanted to steal the dragon horse as soon as possible and return to the sect overnight. This was the way of the king. Downstairs, Xiao Han used the light of the moon to go around to the stables in the backyard. At this time, there were dozens of horses in the stables. Two of them were the most spirited, like cranes in a flock of chickens. They were almost twice the size of a normal green buckskin horse. They had the head of a dragon and the body of a horse. Their hooves were slender and powerful, and a slight snort was as loud as thunder. They were the dragon horses that the two female disciples of the Medicine King Valley were riding. Good horses, good horses. Xiao Han rubbed his hands and sneakily approached the two dragon horses. Nay, the two dragon horses seemed to have sensed that this black-clothed guy had ill intentions. They neighed and stomped their front hooves, sending dust flying. Be good, don't mess around. Xiao Han did not hesitate anymore. He stretched out his right hand and directly grabbed the reins of one of the dragon horses. He was prepared to use violence to break the reins and directly steal the horse. At this time, What are you doing? A clear and melodious voice like that of an oriole sounded from behind Xiao Han. Xiao Han's entire body froze. He could clearly hear that this voice belonged to the young girl in red. In a flash, Xiao Han's hand that had already grabbed the reins loosened. He felt embarrassed and distressed, as if he had been caught red-handed. Slowly turning around, he smiled sheepishly and stammered. This horse is really magical. Although Xiao Han was cruel and ruthless when facing the martial artists Shangguan and the others, killing people like blowing dust away, that was because they wanted to kill him and they had repeatedly forced him to do so. However, today he was in the wrong for stealing the horse. He naturally did not dare to be self-righteous, nor did he think of forcefully stealing the horse. Under the light of the moon, two girls, one in red and one in white, stood slender and elegant outside the stables. There was no need to mention the girl in red. Xiao Han had already seen her peerless beauty in the restaurant. At this moment, Xiao Han finally saw the face of the white-clothed girl. He was instantly stunned. He saw that the girl in white was in the prime of her youth, probably around 17 or 18 years old. Her skin was like jade and snow, delicate. Her features were picturesque, and she was dressed in a light and elegant white robe. Her shoulders were sharp, her waist was like silk, her neck was long and delicate, and her eyes were bright and beautiful. Bathed in the moonlight, her elegant temperament was like that of a pear blossom. The girl in red was as delicate and fresh as a lotus. The girl in white was as beautiful as a pear blossom. Coupled with their status as disciples of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, this kind of woman, no matter if it was a cold-hearted man, or a bloodthirsty and ruthless person, or even an evil traitor, would inevitably fall in love with her. However, the feeling of amazement only flashed through Xiao Han's mind for a moment. What he cared about now was the embarrassment of being caught red-handed for stealing a horse. Xiao Han's eyes darted around a few times. Looking at their faces, he found that there was no anger in the eyes of the two beautiful girls. Instead, they were filled with naivety and some surprise. If they had immediately reprimanded and questioned Xiao Han, it would have given Xiao Han a reason to steal the horse and leave. However, they were so naive that Xiao Han was completely embarrassed to make a move. The girl in red tilted her head and said in a low voice, "Senior Sister Shirong, it's an uncle." "Uncle?" Xiao Han almost spat out a mouthful of blood. "Uncle, do you want to steal our dragon horse?" The girl in red smiled and asked with her eyebrows curved. She was really full of spiritual energy, delicate and adorable. Xiao Han explained with a hoarse voice. "It's not stealing. How could it be stealing?" The girl in white glared at the girl in red and said with a smile, "Uncle, I am Lan Shirong and this is junior sister Jing Yanxue. We are disciples of the Valley of the Medicine Masters. I can see that uncle is also a person of the martial Tao. May I ask if you urgently need the dragon horse to travel? It was also the first time that Lan Shirong and Jing Yanxue walked the Jianghu, but they pretended to be experienced in front of Xiao Han and said a bunch of polite words. Xiao Han didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Uncle, we borrowed the dragon horse from the sect. We can't give it to you. Sorry. Uncle, we noticed you in the restaurant just now. You have been eavesdropping on my conversation with senior sister Shirong, right? I didn't expect that you actually came to steal. Oh, not steal. You actually came to see our dragon horse. The girl in red, Jing Yanxue, interrupted. She was eloquent and spoke very quickly, which was very pleasing to the eyes. This. Xiao Han was embarrassed to the extreme. Moreover, being called uncle left and right by these two peerless beauties made his heart feel strange. He thought to himself, now that I can't steal the flood dragon horse, I should quickly think of a way to get away as soon as possible. Uncle, which sect are you from? Jing Yanxue asked curiously. I'm not from any sect. Xiao Han didn't dare to say that he was from the Cloud Rain sect. This kind of shameful thing should be covered up as much as possible. Then you must be a Jianghu person. Jing Yanxue clapped her hands with interest and tilted her head. Senior sister Shirong, uncle is a Jianghu person. How interesting. Right at this moment, bang. Not far away, a firework exploded in the sky on the left side. This firework rose into the sky and suddenly exploded, forming a gorgeous tulip. It was the size of an acre and was a spectacular sight. Senior brother Mo is here. Jing Yanxue and Lan Shirong said at the same time. In the next moment, Lan Shirong took out a firework from her bosom and gently pulled the fuse. Pooh! A spark soared into the sky and exploded into a tulip in the night sky. Uncle, don't be afraid. This is a firework used by the disciples of the Medicine King Valley to communicate with each other. Jing Yanxue smiled and explained to Xiao Han. Oh, I see. Then I won't disturb the two ladies from meeting your fellow sect members. Xiao Han quickly said. Goodbye. Uncle, wait. Jing Yanxue quickly said. Uncle, if senior brother Mo is here, I can help you put in a good word. Senior brother Mo is an outstanding outer sect disciple of our Medicine King Valley. If he agrees, lending you a flood dragon horse is nothing. Oh. Hearing this, Xiao Han was stunned. Right at this moment, a burst of air-piercing sound came from the left side. The wind was strong as if someone was leaping from afar. His physical body was extremely tyrannical, tearing the air and bursting out wind sounds. Not long after, a young man in a brocade robe lightly jumped down from the high wall of the restaurant. This man was around 20 years old. His face was like a crown jade and he was handsome. Both his hands were empty and his spirit was soaring. His breathing was steady and clear, full of vitality, showing an extremely strong physical body realm. However, the only flaw was that his lips were slightly thin, giving people a feeling that he was heartless. Junior sister Lan, junior sister Jing, you have waited for a long time. The man walked over with majestic steps. Hello, senior brother Mo. Lan Shirong and Jing Yanxue greeted him at the same time. Jing Yanshue's eyes flashed a trace of undetectable disgust. Lan Shirong, on the other hand, was indifferent, simple and elegant. No one could tell what she was thinking. This senior brother Mo looked deeply at the two beautiful girls and nodded slightly. Immediately, he looked at Xiao Han from the corner of his eyes and frowned. This is... Senior brother Mo, this uncle is a Jianghu swordsman. We met by chance in this restaurant. Jing Yanxue quickly said. Jianghu swordsman. Senior brother Mo glanced at Xiao Han indifferently. His eyes were filled with disdain as he said in a low voice. Pretending to be mysterious, Xiao Han also had an instinctive dislike for this senior brother Mo. He thought to himself that it was a waste of effort to borrow the flood dragon horse from this arrogant guy. Thus, Xiao Han completely gave up on the idea of borrowing the horse. He was prepared to say a few polite words and leave. However, right at this moment, the strange thing that was hibernating in Xiao Han's heart quickly spun. Xiao Han looked left and right. Finally, his eyes fixed on senior brother Mo. At this moment, senior brother Mo also looked at Xiao Han. There was a trace of doubt and curiosity in his eyes. The two of them stared at each other. At the same time, the demon god's palm tattoo on Xiao Han's left arm also vaguely moved, sending out a thirsty and bloodthirsty feeling. Damn it, the demon race. Xiao Han secretly licked his lips. Chapter 41. Ever since they arrived at this small town, The strange thing in Xiao Han's heart had always been well behaved. It was only when senior brother Mo appeared that it suddenly activated and sent out a warning. I didn't expect this. This guy with the surname Mo is actually a demon. It's most likely that after coming out of the Medicine King Valley, he encountered the demon race and was killed. His brain was sucked dry and his body was taken over by the demon race. Now, he actually came to deceive these two delicate little beauties. Does he want to feast on them? Xiao Han's heart was as clear as a mirror. In fact, the most terrifying thing about the demon race was that after eating the brain of a human, they could disguise themselves as the human and absorb the memories and thoughts of the human when they were alive. They could even master the skills that the human was most proud of when they were alive. If they were not discovered and exposed, the demon race could even live on with the human skin. This kind of thing made people's blood run cold just thinking about it. For example, if they ate this demon with the surname Mo, as long as they were not discovered, they could use the surname Mo's identity to wander around freely in the human society, marry a wife and have children. Until one day when his wife woke up, she might find out that her husband who had been sleeping with her for so many years was actually a demon. She would be scared to death. Senior brother Mo, this uncle wants to borrow a flood dragon horse. Jing Yanxue said crisply. Senior sister Shirong and I can't make the decision. It's up to senior brother Mo. This lady Jing Yanxue is a good person? Xiao Han said in his heart. However, Xiao Han understood that this was also because these two girls had just entered the Jianghu and did not understand the dangers of the Jianghu. They only felt that everything was fresh and lively, so not only were they not wary of others, but they were also very friendly. After they had traveled in the Jianghu for a period of time and gained experience and shrewdness, they would definitely not treat an uncle who stole a horse in such a friendly manner. Senior brother Mo looked at Xiao Han deeply and the curiosity in his eyes became stronger. It seemed that there was something on Xiao Han that attracted him very much. Man of the Jianghu, why don't you take off your cloak and let us see your face? Since you want to borrow the horse, then be honest with us. Ha ha ha. Xiao Han cursed in his heart. Why should I be honest with you, a demon in human skin? If you want to be honest with me, why don't you tear off this layer of human skin? I'm old and ugly and eyesore and there's nothing to look at. I'm afraid that I'll scare you and affect your mood. Young man, you are handsome and talented. If I show my true appearance in front of you, wouldn't I be asking to be humiliated? Don't tease me, ha. Senior brother Mo stared at Xiao Han, a crafty glint flashing in his eyes. He then squinted his eyes as if he was thinking. After several breaths, he nodded slightly. Since you insist on acting mysterious, I won't force you. You Jianghu people have always been unconventional and deliberately mystifying. I'm already used to it. To be honest, the three of us are going to kill the demon clan to complete the sex training mission. Jianghu people, my Medicine King Valley is a large sect. The rules of the sect are urgent, the disciples of the sect are all righteous. Since you want to borrow the flood dragon horse, why don't you come with us? After killing the demons, we will lend the flood dragon horse to you. What do you think? After a pause, senior brother Mo added. I see that you're probably at the Viscera refinement realm. Traveling in the Jianghu, your courage and vision far surpass mortals. You shouldn't be afraid of the demons. Why don't you come with us? When the time comes, you don't need to do anything, I will personally subdue the demons. You're inviting me? It seems like you want to eat me as well. Xiao Han sneered in his heart. However, he didn't refuse immediately. First, Xiao Han knew that the one with the surname Mo was a demon in disguise, but the two girls, Lan and Jing, were kept in the dark. The two girls with the surname Mo were going to subdue demons. It was as if both of their feet had stepped into the abyss at the same time. They would definitely be eaten without any suspense. The two girls were as beautiful as fairies. Just like the most exquisite jade porcelain, it would be a pity if it was slightly broken. Xiao Han couldn't bear to see them lose their lives. Secondly, Xiao Han's demon emperor's arm needed to absorb the essence of the demons. Only then could it be nourished and awaken the demon vein. Right now, the demon emperor's arm only had one demon vein awakened, but it already had 100 cauldrons of strength. It was Xiao Han's trump card. If he could continuously awaken the demon vein, his strength would increase. In the future, when he roamed the Jianghu, he would have one more trump card to defeat his enemies and protect his life. The stronger the demon emperor's arm, the more benefits it would bring to Xiao Han. Thus, Xiao Han was a little excited to run into the demon race. Even the tattoo on the demon emperor's arm was stirring, sending out a thirsty desire. Thirdly, Xiao Han was a young and hot-blooded youth. Subconsciously, he had a chivalrous heart. Since he had encountered such a thing, he couldn't just sit back and do nothing. Moreover, Xiao Han had personally witnessed senior brother Fang's peerless demeanor in subduing demons. Now that he had some power, he couldn't help but want to imitate him. Xiao Han was about to agree, but Jing Yanxue quickly said, Okay. Uncle, come with us. As she spoke, she kept giving Xiao Han a meaningful look. Her bright and pretty eyes seemed to be begging Xiao Han to agree to subdue the demons together. Xiao Han slightly changed his mind and understood Jing Yanshue's intention. It was said that this senior brother Mo was an extremely filthy guy. He once peeped at the female disciples of Medicine King Valley bathing. He was simply a lecherous ghost. Jing Yanxue must despise him in her heart. She was worried that if she went with Lan Shirong, she would be taken advantage of by senior brother Mo. Thus, she was eager for an outsider to get involved. Xiao Han thought, although the real senior brother Mo's brain had been sucked dry and his soul returned to the netherworld, this demon disguised as senior brother Mo and inherited senior brother Mo's memory and despicable nature. He must also be lecherous. Perhaps, before harming the two girls, he really might have done some indecent things. Xiao Han subconsciously looked at Lan Shirong, who had been quiet all along. Coincidentally, Lan Shirong was also looking at Xiao Han. Her eyes were also filled with obvious expectation. After knowing senior brother Mo's despicable behavior, Lan Shirong must have some misgivings. All right then. Xiao Han nodded. Although I am a Jianghu person and my status cannot be compared to the disciples of big sects like you, I have personally killed demons before. Come, let's go together. Perhaps I can be of help when fighting against the demon race. Jianghu person, you have also killed demons before? That's good. That's great. Senior brother Mo's eyes flashed with a trace of deep mockery and ridicule. He looked up to the sky and laughed. Soon after, he said in an awe-inspiring manner, Jianghu person, let's go now. Good. I really want to see the situation of the demon race disguised as us humans. Senior brother Mo, can you take out your demon-revealing mirror and let me have a look? Jing Yanxue cheered excitedly. Demon-revealing mirror? Senior brother Mo unnoticeably sneered and immediately shook his hand. There is nothing to see. If you want to see it, wait until we reach the small town of the demon race. Then I will take it out. Yanxue, you can slowly look at it. Let's go now. We will travel through the night and arrive in a few hours. I have already found out that there are a few loose demons in a small town 1,000 miles away. It is not worth mentioning. And let's go. Jing Yanxue nodded and immediately said to Xiao Han, Uncle, let's go together. All right. Xiao Han nodded slightly. That's right. I have lent my flood dragon horse to a friend in the 8 Desolate Palace. Junior sister Shirong, junior sister Yanxue, I will share one flood dragon horse with you and lend the other flood dragon horse to this Jianghu person. Senior brother Mo's eyes turned and said. As he spoke, his eyes revealed a very obvious lustful expression. It was almost undisguised. Both Lan and Jing saw it. Lan Shirong frowned and said, Senior brother, this is not appropriate. Men and women should not touch each other. How can we ride the same horse? We are martial brothers and sisters, not outsiders. Why can't we? Senior brother Mo said coldly. Moreover, there are only 2 flood dragon horses. There is no other way. Junior sister Shirong, do you think it is a disgrace to ride the same horse as me? You don't know how many junior sisters in the Medicine King Valley have been longing to ride the same horse as me? Tsk. This demon race has indeed inherited the lustful nature of the surnamed Mo. It is very rampant and has no scruples at all. Oh, that's right. It is a demon race. What does it have to worry about? It is going to eat people in a while. What is there to worry about? Xiao Han sneered in his heart. Lan Shirong and Jing Yanxue couldn't help but look at each other with eyes full of horror. They never expected that senior brother Mo would be so impetuous and didn't even try to cover it up. Could it be that after leaving the sect, he wanted to cover the sky with one hand and do whatever he wanted? Cough. Friend Mo, why don't we ride the same horse? Xiao Han had no choice but to help the 2 pitiful girls out of the predicament. Senior brother Mo snorted coldly. The corner of his mouth revealed an indescribable arrogance and disdain. Sorry, I have never ridden the same horse as a guest of the martial world. Junior sister Shirong, junior sister Yanxue, you too. Before he could finish his words, Jing Yanxue suddenly pulled Xiao Han's hand and smiled sweetly. Uncle, since senior brother Mo doesn't want to ride the same horse as you, then the 3 of us will ride the same horse. Let's go and get the horses. After she finished speaking, she directly pulled Xiao Han towards the stables. Xiao Han was startled. In the next moment he felt that he was held by Jing Yanshua's smooth jade-like hands. It was soft as if there were no bones, warm like jade, and it was indescribably charming and comfortable. Too proactive. I'm a little embarrassed. Xiao Han's heart couldn't help but beat wildly. He increasingly felt that Jing Yanxue, this girl, was charming, lively, and cute. Of course, Xiao Han was clear that Jing Yanxue didn't have any ulterior motives. Moreover, she treated him as an old uncle, which was why she didn't care about the boundaries between men and women. That's right, Xiao Han's face was covered tightly and his aura was withered and old. As long as he didn't take off the black cloth on his face, it was easy for others to mistake him as a shriveled old man. Jing Yanxue untied the reins of a dragon horse and said to Xiao Han, "Uncle, you can get on the horse. I will sit behind you. Senior sister Shirong will sit in front to drive. Uncle, you can sit in the middle." "Okay. Uncle, you haven't ridden a dragon horse before, right?" I'll sit in the middle?" Xiao Han's brain began to heat up. "You two are so happy. When I eat you, I want to see if you can still laugh. However, these two girls before I eat you, hee." At this moment, Xiao Han's heart was filled with joy. He couldn't help but think, no matter what, I have to protect them. I can't let them be eaten by the demon race. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.